I'm sorry, chatters. I'm sorry, my clubbers. I lost bitrate, and you already know what that means. Literally looked up, and all of a sudden, my like Streamlabs froze. All of a sudden, like my bitrate wasn't moving anymore, and I'm just like, oh fuck, god damn it. So I just had to double check. I just power cycled my Wi-Fi. We're getting back into it. We're just gonna throw ourselves back into it, and we'll go from there. You know, we're not too worried about it, right, chat? Let's move on. We were still doing episode 30 of Empresses in the Palace. We had just talked about Consort Hua getting in trouble for the miscarriage of concubine Wan. We also saw, unfortunately, that even though she once again was getting in trouble, the emperor scolded her, he didn't impose harsh punishment. He took her honorary title. He demoted her by 1 demotion, not by much. So instead of being a noble consort, she is now just a consort. He confined her to her palace, and he forced her to kneel every day at midday for 4 hours to basically help her experience what she put concubine Wan through. But yeah, I digress. We're moving on. Oh yes, we also saw that that after he sent everyone away from the room. And like he didn't, like after he didn't impose like harsh punishment, he sent everyone away from the room and was kind of like being like a dumbass. Like he didn't really say the right things to concubine Wan. You know, afterwards he literally was like, I can't imagine how much worse it would be had I not been there. And she's like, how much worse do you think it was gonna be, dude? Like I just miscarried. And so she asks him, you know, why didn't you kill that wretch, excuse me. She does, like, basically, like, she deserves to die. And we all agree. I agree, chat. Many of the harem, like, specifically Consort Jing and, like, Noble Lady Hui are kind of curious as to why harsh punishment wasn't exacted. And he pretty much says what we were thinking. Because he's pressed and in need of support of her family, like, while dealing with courtly affairs and stuff like that, he didn't kill her. And she's like, but she killed your child, right? And I'm thinking the same thing. He killed a royal heir, specifically a male heir, you know, which was seen as a huge like transgression. And so everyone, including concubine Wan, is upset, entirely upset. And so the one thing I wanted to point out that rubbed me the wrong way was that he said, why did you have to be so obedient to Consort Nian? You didn't have to kneel or submit to her. Consort Esteem or Consort Jing was there. She could have helped you. Why didn't you seek her from help? And this type of thing really pissed me off, because quite literally he told her, like, before he left and all of this took place, he quite literally expressed to her, you know, just deal with it. Okay? Just deal with her overbearingness until I get back. No one is going to be able to protect you right now if she decides to, you know, do something irrevocably, like, dangerous. And so, obviously, you see the pain in Concubine Wan's eyes. She's like, you already know what kind of person she is. You know what she's like. How could Consort Jing stop her? How could I possibly stop her or confront her? You know, essentially blaming her for the problem. Essentially saying, like, why couldn't you just, for the one time, not be so hard-headed, you know, type thing. And she's like, under any other circumstances, had I disobeyed her, she would have made more excuses to impose punishment on me. Which is what she did currently. That's how I got into this situation in the first place. She used the excuse to punish me, and had I not kneeled down, you know, she used the excuse to punish me, and it caused me to lose my child. But had I not knelt down, it could have been worse. Basically, running myself into circles with her, had I not did it. And so I want to know, why he asked her that. Like, he's not helping the situation. And Concubine Wine even asked him, like, well, why did you give her absolute power of the harem? You know she's cruel. You know she's evil. You're not unaware. And it, like, you knew, like, and she even brings up, you knew that she caused Noble Lady Wei to suffer and lied about everything. And this fucking asshole is like, so now you gonna blame me? And me and her both did the same thing. We just looked away, like, what the fuck? Are you serious? So you blame me. And when I tell you I didn't do nothing wrong, and then I ask you, what about you? Now you like, oh, you blaming me? Bro, are we children right now? Are we children right now? And you could tell that Concubine Wanda knew she wasn't gonna get anywhere with him with this. And I knew she wasn't gonna get anywhere with this. And so she immediately was like, wow, how dare I blame you for such a, like, you know, how dare I? And he's like, Wan Wan. He uses her nickname. He's like, Wan Wan, I swear I'll bring you justice. I swear to heaven, I'll bring you justice. And so she's like, okay, when? When is that gonna happen? He's like, one day. And he's like, well, maybe one day. I might not even remember having lost a child. So what does it even matter? And then not even then, Consort Huan will, Consort Nian will still be in the palace. 1 second, chat. I need some water. So basically, F's in the chat for the Emperor. He was like, just please try to endure it a little longer. And she just like, fuck off, dude. Fuck off. Like, she lays back in bed and like looks away. She doesn't even want to fucking deal with him anymore. Because, and quite honestly, I'd feel the same way. After just losing my child, you want me to just endure the pain a little bit longer so you can one day possibly get revenge? Nah, fuck you. Fuck you. Anyways, moving on. Excuse me, chat. Keep coughing in your ears. In the next scene, we see Noble Lady Wei returning to her palace, and Imperial Physician Wen is there, and she tells him the news, and he cries. And he's upset. He's like, you know, it was my incompetence. And, you know, good guy points for him. Good guy points for you, dude. But there's nothing you could have really, what could you have done? And even Noble Lady Hui is like, why are you crying? Well, she's like, you're a man. Why are you crying? You know, like, fuck, like, she was intentionally harmed in the fact that there's nothing no one could have done to save the child because the person who wanted to kill the child was doing it, you know? Or did it, you know, she had already gotten away with what she was doing. So, you know, they talk some more about like examining her herbs, and they talk more about like making sure nothing went wrong, because Noble Lady Hui has concerns about what happened. She thinks, you know, even though Consort Nian was overbearing and did this, she wouldn't dare to blatantly do this and like basically kill an imperial heir. And so when Imperial Physician Wen is like, for sure, I'll do it exactly what you say. And she also says not to inform her family because she doesn't want them to be in such a distress or in distraught manner as of yet, until they can find more information about what happened. So they move on to the next scene. The Emperor's at his desk, and Su Peixiong's bringing like the greetings and stuff like that. And the Emperor notices that Su Peixiong hasn't left, so he asks him, yo, what's up? Like, what happened? And it's greetings from the Nian family. And specifically, it's greetings from Nin Genyao, or Consort Nian's brother. And so the Emperor's like, how many more greetings does he have to send me? Why does he keep sending me all this information? So Su Peixiong's like, oh, you know, you know how it is, you type thing, you know, you can deal with it, and kind of like walks out. And so Su Peixiong like walks out the door, and he's like pulling his collar. He's like, yeesh, boy, woo. And I guess the eunuch that's training, because he's like Sifu, to Su Peshang, is like, wow, you know, you sweating, your clothes damn no soaking wet, boy, you good? And Su Peshang's like, it's like the situation with Concubine Wan has caused such what fucking word, internal fire, which I think he means just like it caused so much distress and angst that the emperor hasn't slept well for a few days. So, you know, don't walk around and cause unnecessary issues. You know, right now everything's on edge and everybody just is having too much with the court and here. And so Su Peshang is just like, yeah, just like I said, don't go around making like unnecessary noise and movements, just let shit be. And so in the next scene, we like switch over and we see Consort Nian is kneeling midday. And she look uncomfortable. She's leaning to the side. She's trying to lift her body. Like, her head looks tired. She's sweating. She's pale. Like, she basically looks like how exactly Concubine Wan looked when she was kneeling in the sun. And of course, her little maid, whose name I forget. What's her maid's name? Let me see. I could find her maid's name. Wasn't like crazy, right? Songju, there you go. So of course Songju comes to help her and like comes to give her like she's like, I can bring you some water. And she comes to kneel with her with an umbrella, and Consort Neon's like, go away, you know, I don't want your help, I don't need your help, go. The emperor will be upset if he sees that you're helping me, and I don't want him to be any more upset than he already is. Basically, it's just showing us her mindset right now. She's not even caring about her own physical well-being, nor the situation. She just only wants the emperor to not be upset anymore. And she faints. She immediately faints. And so, Su Peshang comes in the next scene to inform His Majesty that Prince Gao is here. And the emperor's like, send him in. I'll talk to him, no problem. And so Prince Gao immediately bows and he's like, I'm here to seek punishment. And to me, I was just like, oh, so this guy really is, he's kind of like the noble gentleman kind of thing. He really understands, or to me, this is what it seems like. He understands that while also saving his sister-in-law from a horrible situation, he indeed entered, you know, the harem of the emperor, which is a huge offense. And, you know, me, I'm just like, man, you tried to save this man's kid and his girl, you know, can he be upset, you know, right now? But, of course, this is Imperial China, and these are different times, and he's, like I said, he's here to seek his punishment, and the emperor is fine. The emperor is not upset. He said, you said it was the only possible choice to save her and the child, and I didn't want to, or it's not necessary to cause, like, any more commotion behind this. And the emperor's like, it's all you could do, nothing's gonna come out of it. And so Prince Gao is kind of, like, he's, like, visually relieved. And, like, I personally, like, after having seeing this exchange between the two, like, I still don't trust him, but I think he is the perfect gentleman. He is the good, like, he's the good male representation in the story. And I feel like he is what everyone assumes the emperor is supposed to be. He's supposed to be gallant. He's not overbearing. He's impartial. We even know that from the beginning of the series that he actually stayed out of the rivalry and the schemes of his brothers when fighting for the throne, and which is why the current emperor is such a huge fan of him and actually likes having him around, because he doesn't interfere in things that aren't necessarily his to interfere in. And so they get to talking some more, and they get to talking about Ningen Yao and how he keeps sending his greetings, and how he keeps trying to talk to the emperor in any manner. And Prince Gao's like, if he keeps behaving in such a disrespectful way, you know, especially when the relationship is master and monarch before brother and brother-in-law, he clearly is abusing your trust and favor and needs to be dealt with. And the emperor, you know, he's like, you never comment on affairs like this. You normally neutral. You normally Like I said, he stays out of situations that are not his to deal with. But he excuses himself by saying, I'm your brother, and I can only talk about family affairs. And this is a family affair. But before we can continue with any of that, Su Peshong comes in and he starts to report about Concert Neon fainting from heat stroke. And of course the Emperor's like, he's like, did the doctors come? Like, is she okay? Like, is she fine? Like, he's like nonchalant about it, but he still says that she's exempt from daily kneeling until she can recover. And I'm just like, bro, you so soft on her. Had it been anybody else, you would have told them to kneel longer for fainting. Like, just another reason why this Emperor is like, once again, aware that Concert Neon has plot armor, aware that they're using her to drive plot because she's the main antagonist as of right now. But the way they are portraying this Emperor is pissing me off, okay? He's so fucking lame. And even Prince Gao is like, that was such a weird way to handle that. She and her brother are clearly, like in cahoots almost. And he's like, you're caring. You obviously feel sentimental about the past despite her grave mistake. Insinuating that what I've been saying this whole time, like, you're lame, dog. Like, you straight up, you're thinking about the good times and how good you had it with her, despite her having killed a child of yours. A grave mistake that most people would have their heads lopped off for, type shit. But I digress. Like, even the Emperor digresses, and he's like, anyways, she deserves stern punishment, but, she's been very caring over the years. And, I can't discredit that. And Prince Gao is like, yeah, her and her brother really are caring for each other. And so the Emperor is like, alright, bro, like, we get it. We know that her and her brother, are like working to try and smooth this situation over. And he brings up the greetings again that Nian Ganyao keeps sending in, stating that in one of the greetings, Nian Ganyao keeps talking about how he's disturbed about the demotion of his sister, and how he's deeply upset. It feels as if like the chill of the winter has entered my heart, and all esoteric bullshit. He's so disappointed and devastated, not thinking through what he's saying, and it clearly demonstrates that the Emperor is upset and sensing the intent behind his words more than anything. But everyone's just like, okay, so what are you gonna do? A lenient punishment, a lenient punishment obviously isn't doing enough for you. But then you don't want to go harsher on the punishment because of her brother and what he can do for you. So what are you gonna do? And he's like, ugh. The Emperor is like, at this point, to assuage Concubine Wan's grief, I can only console her. I can't do nothing. Even if I was sentimental about the past, I have to take all the powers in the court into consideration. And so he asked Prince Gao what you would do if it were me. And Prince Gao is like, ho 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 ho, those in office should not concern themselves with an office job. Once again displaying his ability to move himself out of situations that he has no bearing on, or remove himself of situations that he has no bearing on. But now the Emperor's like, it's funny how you keep doing that. And, it's funny how you keep removing yourself from situations. But that can't last any longer. I need you as my right hand man. I need you to help me with something. And he starts to receive orders from the Emperor. And the Emperor tells him straight up, alright, I got a job for you, dog. And it's gonna be a big one. And he doesn't say much more than that. And the drama doesn't give us much more than that. We immediately move to the next scene. And Contrepoix is laying down in her bed for a few moments and she wakes up. And she's like, did His Majesty come? Did the Emperor come? Or whatever. And like, unfortunately, like, I'm just like, damn, that's all she care about is like him. Like, she literally only cares about him, his love for her, and her love for him. That's the only thing ever on her mind, 24/7, every day of the week. And it's sad because Songju, her maid, is just like, you had a heat stroke, and the doctors visited, and they told you should rest, and he said you should, probably not strain yourself. And so she's like, but what did the emperor say about my heat stroke? Did you inform him that I fainted from a heat stroke? And so Songju was like, I actually sent quite a few people over there to inform him. And all he said was just to rest and get back to kneeling when you're done. And she turns over and cries to the side, and I'm just like, what did you expect? Why are you crying? You just killed someone's child. You just murdered someone's fucking child, bro. Ugh. Chad, I really, I was so flabbergasted at that scene. I was flabbergasted. And I guess it's supposed to show that the complexity and the multi-layeredness of Consort Nian, and that it's not just her evilness being this, or she's not just evil for being the sake of evilness. She is a person, she has feelings, but I don't give a fuck. I don't like her, Chad. And it's so funny because just opposed to her crying, in the next scene we have we have Concubine Wan crying, and she's crying with her baby's little bib. Stating that she feels like she deserves what happened to her. Regretting every single day why I didn't forgive, or beg for forgiveness. Why I didn't try to bow my head down. And why I didn't try to just, set my pride aside for my unborn baby. Because had I did, maybe this wouldn't have happened. And so, Jinshi is trying to console her and trying to tell her that you can't think this way. And that literally it would have happened. Or she's like, not like it would have happened, but Consort Nian would not have let you off easily. Is kind of suggesting that something would have happened anyway. And so she's to me, I'm just yeah, that's true, but she's not hearing you. And true enough, she isn't. She Concubine Wan's just why did I gain His Majesty's favor? Why did I even get married in the first place? Why did I do? And I'm just she's literally catastrophizing the situation. And I wouldn't say rightfully so, but she's in such a broken situation. The person who harmed her hasn't been dealt with properly, and the person who harmed her essentially took away something that she can never get back. Yeah, she can get pregnant again, but you can't give her back the child that could have been. You know what I'm saying? And I get that. I feel for her, and I feel for the pain that she is going through. She literally was I would have rather lived in obscurity and rather than dealing with such painful emotions. I'd rather have died 1,000 deaths than have dealt with this one painful emotion of losing my child. And it's such a heartbreaking scene, and Jinshi's doing all she can. She's don't blame yourself. You have to look forward. You can't turn back. You can't, you can't think of this as something you could have prevented. How could you have foreseen such a horrible event? You're not at fault. And, once again, proving to me that Jinshi is probably one of the best servants, one of the best confidants that Concubine Wan could have. And she'll probably be a lifesaver for Concubine Wan. She knows exactly what to say, how to say it, when to say it. And even though she knows, and I know, we all know, that Concubine Wan isn't hearing her right now, she knows that in the end, it's what she will need to hear in order for her to get out of this stand. And Concubine Wan, she cries some more, and she talks about her child some more. And the emperor in the next scene comes, and he's walking through her palace, and he tells the servants not to announce his arrival. And so he walks up to her door and is listening to on the inside. He's just like overhearing the conversation between Jinshi and concubine Wan, and they're talking about like the painful memories it will bring to both of them if she were to dwell on this. And Jinshi's like, His Majesty has stopped visiting, because of that, and you can't afford to lose his favor. It's not good for you right now, especially because you're such an easy target. But then concubine Wan brings up a really good point, and she's like, 10 days haven't even passed since I lost my child, and I'm not even able to lament that. How could I as a mother forget my grief and dress myself up for a man, or just dress myself up to please other people? And you can clearly see that the emperor is just he looks up and walks away, and you can clearly see he's like, well, guess I'm not wanted here, and you ain't, and you're not. Everyone's trying to convince concubine Wan to get out of her grief, but like she said, it hadn't even been 10 days. Like, she just wants to just hold the bib that would have been on her child's little neck and tummy had she not have dealt with what happened. And she's telling Jinshi, I can't smile, I can't be happy, I can't do anything. And so Jinshi doesn't say anything, and it kind of fades into silence. We go into the next scene, but it just goes to show you the impact and the weight of something like this for her. Like, concubine Wan genuinely loved the emperor and loved the thought of being able to have a baby with him. So much so that she was willing to fight for favor and not think twice about it. She was willing to go up against those who were obviously stronger than her and had more power and status than her, causing her to deal with such an unfortunate event. And she blames herself for it. She was so blinded by the love and blinded by the lights, and the lights being the emperor and the favor of the emperor, that she didn't realize that there's so much more to lose when dealing with those who also want the same thing. And I felt bad. I like took a moment and I let that sit with me, and I was just like, she's absolutely right. This is something that, when you think about it, these women have to genuinely like fight for like every aspect of their life. They can't sit there and just kind of want a happy life. They can't just sit there and want for love, because you'll always have someone in your harem, or you'll always have someone going against you because they only want the love. They only want the love for themselves. They're not willing to share it. And that means taking anything from you that represents that love that they don't have. But I digress. And we're moving on to the last scene of the episode, and it's between the Empress Dowager and the Emperor, and it's very important, very, very important. I say that because they're talking, and it's after dinner, and they're talking about the Emperor being absent-minded, and the Empress Dowager brings it up, and she tells him, make sure you don't get sick, make sure you see the imperial physician, blase squaze, and the Empress Dowager can tell that there's nothing she could say or do. She could tell he's deeply upset, as both Lady Fuka and concubine Wan have lost their child. And she noticed also that he hardly comes to the harem. He hardly sees any woman. And so he actually brings up the important bit of this conversation. A doubt that even Noble Lady Hui brought up to Imperial Physician Wen, that even though Consort Nian is overbearing, and that even though she severely likes concubine Wan, doesn't make sense for concubine Wan to have lost her child after only kneeling down for an hour, even in the scorching sun. And so the Empress Dowager agrees, and the Empress Dowager says that, I had someone look into it, and I had them investigate it. And she was saying that Consort Nian, while was in supreme power while she was gone, she constantly summoned the concubines over to her palace every single day, just constantly over there, and seldom, like, she seldom allowed them to, like, even leave, until after sitting there for like 6 to 8 hours, just sitting there watching her talk. And the reason why that's such an important thing is because there's something called the pleasancy incense that they had created for her, and it had long been burning in the palace that they had of for the it had long been burning in Consort Nian's palace for like an exceptionally long time. It was just, so I guess it was like an instance they specifically like made for her, right? And so it looked like, from the information, because from what we see, from what we understand, the incense was doing something to Consort Nian, right? And it looks like because it was doing something to her internally, it might have done something to Concubine Huan internally. And, you know, they tried to, or not tried to, the Empress Dowager tried to, you know, placate his fears that that incense that they had burning for her might have done something to Concubine Huan by saying the daily consumption of the incense is so small that it's only effective after being used after a long time. And, you know, that's why they never were really upset with, or never concerned with, concubines, you know, visiting and going over to her palace. Specifically Consort Nian's palace. And so the Empress Dowager is like, you gotta really think about that. Really think about how, like, we like consecutively have made this consecutively made this incense for Consort Nian to use over the years that could only harm, or like intentionally harm your health over the years, if you had continued access with it over the years. And so this is something to note, chat, because this is very important. Water break. This is something important to note, because this is inferring that the Emperor and the Empress might have intentionally made this pleasancy incense for Consort Huan to create infertile, to create her, or not to create, to I guess force her to become infertile without her knowing. And if this is true, there might have been some interference in Concubine Huan's pregnancy because of the incense, causing her to miscarry. Now, the Empress is like, you know, have taken an extraordinary amount of time for that to happen. And, you know, we also thought about this, you know, when concubines would visit often, you know, that how they would never be affected unless they had to be there for an extraordinary long amount of time, like years. So there's nothing that could have caused this outside of what was happening. There has to be other reasons. It can't be the incense. It can't be something that we did that inexplicably caused this, you know. The Empress Dowager is trying to cover their butts by saying that, we see. And so the Emperor is not completely convinced. He's like, when I favored Escort U, I remember Escort U. When I favored Escort U, I had put poison in her medicine, right? And because I didn't know where he was going, and it was like the poison went on for quite a few days before being discovered. And so I was just like, wait, so you were intentionally poisoned? I said Escort U. What the hell am I talking about? I'm talking about Concubine Huan, guys. My bad. Escort U put poison in Concubine Huan's food when the Emperor began to favor her. This is what I was trying to say. So what the Emperor is saying, when I began to favor Escort U, I think that Escort U's actions at that time might have caused, you know, this build up of harmful chi, I guess he's saying. It caused this this harmful build up in her body, resulting in this miscarriage. And the Empress Dowager is quick to believe it. The Empress Dowager is quick to be like, that has to be it. That has to be what happened. It can't, it can't be what we did, you know? And she's like, that's the reason, you know, she was previously poisoned, and possibly it weakened her and her physical body, causing her to miscarry. So don't blame yourself. So it's funny that the Empress Dowager, at the end of the day, even after losing a grandchild, I should say, she literally still is trying to protect the emperor and his feelings, and trying to absolve him from responsibility. Even though there might have been, it's reasonable that it isn't, but there might have been a small possibility that because of the incense that they intentionally gave to Consort Nian, it might have harmed, to cause miscarriage and cause infertileness in her. It might have caused the miscarriage of Concubine Wan. And it's really important to note that, because it seems like that a lot of the women in the harem are doing everything that they can to kind of shift the blame, whether they are friends or not. They're either shifting the blame away from the emperor and onto Consort Nian, or they're shifting the blame away from the emperor and onto Concubine Wan. And it goes to show you as well that even in these circumstances, because we talked about how imperial China is completely different from modern day life and modern day China too. Even in these circumstances, the emperor can never be at fault. He could never have been at fault for this. And it's good to note that, because he clearly is, if not at fault, he's at fault for not punishing the person responsible. And it seems like everyone's doing all they can to make him feel comfortable and better about it, as if he's the one that physically, yes, he's lost a child, but he didn't physically go through it. He didn't physically have to deal with, and has to still deal with, seeing the woman who caused it prance around and smile in his face, you know? And I think it's really sickening. It's really sad. And something tells me that it's not going to end well for this emperor. The women in his harem are probably going to ruin his reign, or they're probably, and this is a prediction, it's not true or anything like that, but I feel like the women in his harem, including the Empress Dowager and the Empress and Consort Nian, they're going to ruin this family and this family lineage, because of the power and the ambition that they have, but also because of the emperor and the lack of responsibility he takes for these situations and these scenarios. But I digress, chat. Oh yes, also, as the emperor was walking out from talking with the Empress Dowager, all of a sudden Imperial Physician Zhang, he tried to retire and tried to leave for his hometown all of a sudden. Like he was like, I'm over 60 years old, and I was too old to follow your majesty's orders to protect Concubine Wan's child. I failed that mission. You know, I can't stay in the palace. And I thought it was really interesting, because why are you trying to leave all of a sudden, homie? You guilty or something? You have something to explain? You might have done something, you know? Excuse me. The emperor doesn't allow him to leave, though. And the emperor is just like, you've served really long in the harem, and you tried your utmost best, absolving him of that responsibility, whatever. And the emperor allows him to leave. I said the emperor doesn't allow him to leave. The emperor does allow him to leave, and does allow him to go back to his hometown. And I was surprised, because once again, it's like, he's just not, is that not like serious, or not serious? Is that not suspicious? Does that not bother you? I don't understand why the main doctor in charge of her pregnancy, all of a sudden is just trying to dip and try to go back home. But I digress, because that is the end of episode 30. That was a doozy, chat. It took 2 streams just to get through episode 30, unfortunately. But my final thoughts for the episode was it was very heartbreaking to watch. I really felt bad for Concubine Wan. The Emperor is pathetic, in my opinion. I really think after the way he dealt with Concert Nian, I was just like, oh, he's just one of those guys that will, despite the clear and obvious wrong, he will only do what works for his bottom line at the end of the day. That type of thing. Concert Nian clearly deserved a harsher punishment, and many of the people in the harem agree, like Noble Lady Hui, for example. We also get more insight on just how complex the Emperor, the Empress, and the Empress Dowager's relationship is, and how deeply the power of the court is intertwined with the families of the court. Because we also find out that at the beginning of his reign, and especially with Nin Ganyao, after he was placed on the throne, the Empress Dowager and the Emperor and the Empress concocted this two-part plan to prevent Concert Nian from getting pregnant. And one of the ways to do that was they created this incense that they would have just for her, specifically just for her, burning in her palace constantly. That probably had an ingredient, or probably had several ingredients that caused infertility. And we see that it's an important part because it might have played a role in the miscarriage of Concubine Wan's child. We haven't received confirmation yet. There are really many other things that could have done it. Like the Emperor brings up that Concubine Wan was poisoned before as well, and therefore her body could have been weakened that way. We also see that the doctor, Imperial Physician Zhang, that was taking care of Concubine Wan, is now trying to leave for his hometown all of a sudden. So maybe he played a role in it. We really don't know. But with that being said, we are moving on. We are moving on to episode 31, chat. We're doing episode 31 in Empresses of the Palace, The Legend of Zhen Huan. The entire series is 76 episodes long, and you can find all 76 episodes uploaded to YouTube on LETV or LETV. Just want to let you all know, it's come to my attention that up until episode 52, I believe, there's English subtitles, but after that, you're gonna have to wait for the actual subtitle team to continue on. But you won't be waiting too much longer, because I've actually noticed that they've updated in the past week. So it seems like they're actively updating subtitles. So hopefully, if you're watching along at my pace, or if you're ahead of us and you're approaching those episodes, you'll be able to wait a little bit longer, because they'll be pushing those subtitle episodes out really soon. That being said, let's hop right into episode 31. And in episode 31, we first entered the episode with Imperial Physician Wen taking the daily pulse for Concubine Wan, and he's checking her health, making sure she's okay. And we see that there's a little bit of an issue, and the issue is, and he brings it up, that she consumed musk. And the reason why he's so alarmed with her health and why that's an issue is because musk is forbidden in her palace. And he's like, well, there's signs of musk being used on you. It's not easily noticeable, but it's very much there. And she's like, I never used it, so I don't know what happened, how it happened, or how it was consumed. And she was like, I've only ever been exposed to incense in the palace. I don't think or I have only ever been exposed to the Pleasancy incense in the palace that has musk in it. And Imperial Physician Wen is like, you have to stay away from that. Musk is unnecessary, in any situation for a pregnant woman. It can cause miscarriage. And so she asks Vermilion, her dowry maid, to go to the department, or the home life department or the household department, and get some Pleasancy incense, so she can have Dr. Wen analyze it and see what's going on with it, and see what other ingredients that are in there that could have caused this, or if there indeed is musk in there in the first place. And so they talk a little bit more, and he talks about, you know, like, make sure you're not too sad, make sure you're taking care of your health. And she's like, don't worry, doctor, you can't really fix the sadness in the heart. It'll just have to take time, whatever. So next we have Noble Lady Hui, who comes in to the palace, and she comes in to see Noble Lady Wan, or excuse me, Concubine Wan, to make sure she's okay. She wants to make sure she hasn't been you know, like, too aggrieved, I guess you could say. And she peeks in, and she sees that, you know, Imperial Physician Wen and Concubine Wan are talking, and they're talking about their childhood and how Imperial Physician Wen, when he like first approached her out of the temple before she became a concubine, and he tried to marry her. And Noble Lady, he's like, wait, what? Like, she's listening into the conversation, and she hears how he's like, you were not meant to be my wife, right? You know, unfortunately. And to her credit, Noble Lady Wan, or excuse me, Concubine Wan, is like, you misspeak, Imperial Physician Wen. I've only ever seen you as my brother, and there's nothing gonna come out of this. And as she turns her head, she sees Noble Lady Hui there, and she's like, oh, Noble Lady Hui, well, she says Mei JJ, which is her sister, or a sisterly like name. And she's like, oh, I didn't see you there. And so she comes out, and she's like, oh, I wanted to come with attendant on, but I could see, she was like, I wanted to come with attendant on, but it's just me. But I could obviously tell that you guys are dealing with something personally. And she like rushes out, and I caught my attention because she like rushes out, because I thought, like, does she have like a crush on Imperial Physician Wen? Like, is she like upset that he's confessing his like love for her, or his would-be love for her, and she's just like walking away in embarrassment? You know, I was a little curious there, you know, and I was like, what's going on? Maybe she has a crush on him. But officially, in like the next few scenes, Companion On and Concubine Wan are talking again. Concubine, I love how I say that sometimes. Concubine Wan is talking, and she confirms that there is musk in the Pleasancy incense, which also confirms to us that the Emperor is indeed taking precautions against Consort Nian getting pregnant. And if that's true, then excuse me. Ooh, chat. That was a painful one. But if that's true, then it also must mean that he is aware that even though he needs like her family, and he needs her brother to like quite literally fight on the front lines, he doesn't need her, or like her to get pregnant, to cause like instability between the court and harem. Which is another reason as to why, if you are aware of these things, and you are aware that she's a danger of like, excuse me, of giving birth to like a child, why even have her in the first place? Why allow her to do or make moves in the way that she is? And if it's just to placate her brother, then I think right now you're being selfish. You're not thinking about the welfare of everyone else around you. But I digress, chat, because it's clearly being demonstrated that that's what it is. So Concubine Wan thinks because she was exposed to like because of those pregnancy or like those infertility precautions the Emperor took against her, she thought she was being exposed because she was constantly being summoned to her palace, and that's like the real reason why she miscarried. And now she possibly resents the Emperor, right? What just happened? Did I lose bit rate? Chat, did I lose you? Oh no, I didn't. Okay. I had to double check. I was a little worried for a moment, chat, that I had lost you there, but you're okay. Like I said, like I was saying. So yeah, so she now possibly resents the Emperor But we also saw a few scenes ago that the Emperor and the Empress Dowager stated that she shouldn't be worried, or not that she shouldn't, that no one should be worried that that's the case, because they plan for people constantly like visiting Concert Nian and constantly coming over to her palace. So I personally want to know what the truth is. I want to know if that was what really caused her to lose her child and miscarry because of the musk in the incense, and therefore the emperor is the reason behind it, or is there something else? Is there another reason why? Because everyone keeps pointing out how like she was so like stable, and like an hour of kneeling isn't a way for her to like just bleed like that. She was so weak from just an hour of kneeling, it doesn't add up. And everyone keeps making these inferences that there's something else. And I want to know what else it is. Like, I want to know what would cause her to have such a weak constitution physically, that if it wasn't for kneeling, she would have eventually lost the child anyway. Getting that break in, checking that water break. Excuse me. Anyways, where was I? What was I talking about? Yes, so I want to know what the truth is. I want to know, like, what exactly happened. Maybe it was the imperial physician Zhang who left. Maybe he did something, because he did suspiciously leave like at the end of everything. Like, he suspiciously booked it back to his hometown and was like, oh, I gotta dip like right now, you know. But in the next scene we see that the Empress is somewhat grooming Companion On. Like, I'm not, like, what I mean by grooming, I'm not saying she's grooming her to be the next Empress, but she's grooming her to be like her next flunky, like her next follower almost. And so I wonder if the Empress is grooming her so that she could have she has someone to control, and therefore can control the Emperor and ensure her seat and ensure her position thereafter. I'm not sure exactly what her end game is, but it also is showing that the wedge because we already know, like we said, Companion On is in her villain arc, and even though she is pretending to be a friend to Concubine Wan, she's not an actual friend to her. She's just someone who's pretending. But I don't know. Like, I really don't know the end game there, to like, because I just, like, she clearly, and then she forces her to take medicine. So I just don't understand like what the deal is. Like, maybe everyone's getting what they want out of it. Like, she's getting someone she could use to control the Emperor, and then Companion On is getting closer to the Emperor. Maybe that's what the deal is. I'm not sure, but I digress. We're moving on. What was I saying? We were talking. Okay, so we were talking about how she was grooming her, blah blah blah. And like, we don't know where that's coming from, but the next scene we see the Emperor comes to visit Concubine Wan, and she was just talking about how like she lost so much weight from losing, or how she lost like so much weight from being bedridden and losing her child and whatnot. And so the Emperor even talks about like her neck scar that she got from saving Noble Lady Fuka from like the cat and whatnot. And he goes into like this stupid ass speech about like how she's being stubborn, and I really can't understand how they expect her to be so cheery. Like, she just lost a dear friend, a Tidichin. She just had a miscarriage, right? And put the Terry on top, the person responsible for it hasn't even been properly punished. And I don't understand why the Emperor now is telling her she's being so stubborn because she doesn't want to pretend to be happy and see the bright side of it all. But I digress. Next scene, we see that Noble Lady Wei and Imperial Physician Wan are talking, and it wasn't that she had a crush on him per se. She's looking out for Concubine Wan. She's telling him that, excuse me. Ooh, Jesus. Just a little burpy little baby over here, chat. But she's basically telling him that he needs to back off. He needs to stay away from Concubine Wan, because she's a woman of the Emperor, and 2, she doesn't like you. You know what I'm saying? So it's just kind of awkward. It's kind of, one, not only is it wrong, but it's also kind of awkward. And it's like you're trying to protect her, and you're saying you're trying to protect her, but what you can, the only thing you can really do is just literally guard her from afar and love her from afar, because every time you get closer to her, there's going to be more suspicions and more rumors being casted upon you. And she's right. After dealing with so much bullshit before, the last thing she needs is the rumor that she's cheating on the Emperor with him, yeah. But I also think that while she is trying to warn him in that way, I just feel like she also kind of is trying to tell him to back off because she likes him too. I think she likes him. Like I said, she didn't buy. Yeah, she's looking out for her friend, but I really think that she genuinely kind of has a crush on him, and is also telling him to back away because she doesn't want him to get closer to her, and therefore, or back away and not get closer to Concubine Wan, so therefore she can get closer to him. Because you have to remember, Noble Lady Wei isn't interested in the Emperor like that anymore. She doesn't care for his affections after what happened of being falsely accused and then locked up and everything and mistreated. So I wonder if that's transferred, that and love that she once had for the Emperor, if that's transferred to Imperial Physician Wan. But moving on. We see Noble Lady Wan, we see Companion An talking with her maid Koka, and they're talking about her voice, her singing voice, and how one day her time will come, and one day she can't wait to be a concubine, and that it's me that the Emperor will favor, essentially. And she even is happy that Concubine Wan is being disrespectful to the Emperor, or quote unquote being disrespectful to the Emperor, because she's lost in her grief. And she's even smiling at the fact that it hopefully drives a bigger wedge in between them, so the Emperor can come closer and get closer to her. And if this doesn't show you how evil and how twisted her mind can get, I don't know what will, dude, because she clearly, while not able to stand up for herself, and not she can't even retort back and stand up for herself in a verbal altercation, let alone an actual head-to-head altercation. But here she is happily rejoicing in reveling in the misery of others behind their backs. And she's another example of a weak character to me. She's so weak and sad to me that I just feel that she's probably gonna skirt along. Because she knows when to retreat. She knows how to play weak. She knows how to hide herself. And she knows how to, like I said, she doesn't do head-on confrontation. She waits until the opponent is down, and that's a weak ass bitch to me, personally. And she's the honor and favor in the palace that Consort Hua and Concubine Nian have can't always stay there. And hopefully it'll be my time to have such an honor. And it's girl, you can't even fight head on for an honor. You just trying to pick up the crumbs by the wayside. Ridiculous. But then my favorite thing happens. Another banquet. And let me tell you, when I say these banquets, listen, okay? These banquets are, like, they have the best drama. Like, they have some of the best acting and drama plots, okay? And there's so much shit happening in the banquet. The Empress makes her move. We see. Ooh, sorry, chat almost knocked my thing over. But yeah, we see the Empress making her move. We also see Noble Lady Fuka trying to make a move as well, trying to push herself into the spotlight while pushing others out of the spotlight. She also kind of like covertly makes a jab at Concubine Wan, and everyone is kind of like looking sideways, and even this, and it's so funny to me because she's another concubine on. She's another attendant on, but Consort Chi, who is another flunky of the Empress, is weak as hell too. She's weak as hell too, bro. She tries to ride the coattails of Noble Lady Fuka's like slight, because it's very slight. She doesn't even say it out loud. Her very slight disrespectful remark to Concubine Wan, and it doesn't go her way. The Emperor's like, okay. And even the Empress is just like, oh, fucking idiot. But yeah, even in the banquets, all the other women are like trying to fight for his favor. They're all trying to get like, they're all proposing drinks to him, and they're all saying, oh, don't be partial to everyone. Don't be partial to, or not partial to everyone. Don't be partial to just anyone. You have to be fair to everyone. You know, have drinks with me and whatever. And I even forgot she existed. But Attendant Chen or Attendant Joy, who is another attendant that we rarely even see, she tried to propose a toast to the Emperor, and he was just like, no, stop. Just stop, please. And she's like, oh, but you're being partial to Noble Lady Fuka. And he's like, yeah, because I haven't seen her since she lost her baby. Huh? How about you shut the fuck up and sit down? Like, he didn't say it like that, obviously, chat. But he kind of alluded to, like, yeah, because I haven't seen her in some time, and she's been through something very horrendous. So, like I said, chat, it's nothing but mess and gossip and, like, a whole bunch of drama. And like I said, the Empress is also making her move. All that planning she and Concubine An have been doing has come to a head. And honestly, the Empress is really something I have to, like, watch out for. And I say that because we see that as Consort Neon is on the decline, the Empress is making moves through other concubines, right? And she literally has concubines. She plans this, or she arranges this this whole presentation for Concubine An, right? I keep calling her a concubine, but she plans this whole presentation for Attendant An, where she has her dress up, cover her face, and she comes singing on a boat. And the Empress is like, the clothes are not as, or the Empress is like, oh, do you like the beauty who hides her face? She seems so very, she seems so very beautiful. She sings so very beautifully. And the Empress like, I like her clothes. And she dresses well. And the Empress is like, does she dress well or does she sing well? And the Emperor smiles. And so all the other women are just upset. They're just like, she's obviously covering her face because she must be too ugly to show it. And so Noble Lady Fuka is just like, clearly she's not someone who's worthy of the Emperor's time. And so the Empress, once again pulling the strings, is, though she may not be as remarkably well, though she may not sing as remarkably well as my sister, she does sound not she sounds similar. There you go. She does sound similar as Empress Zhen, my sister. And so the Emperor's like, while very remarkable and while very familiar, no one can be the same as Empress Premier. And even then, like, the Empress kind of like drops her smile and her facade cracks for a moment. And she realizes that, like, no matter what, he will always love her sister. Like, he will always, even if she, no matter the plans, even if she plays the nice, decent, dutiful wife, she will never have the love that her sister had from him. And so it just goes to point out that the Empress is just really looking for love too, but she's also looking to be the only one who the Emperor will love in the same way that Consort Nian is looking for love from the Emperor. And it goes to show you how very different and similar these two women are. And while, once again, Consort Nian is on a decline, the Empress is very much on the incline. And she's in the ascent towards power. And she's using Concubine On, here we go again. She's using Attendant On as a means to do that. But I digress. Moving on, chat. I love that both Concubine Wan and Noble Lady Hui know the Empress is setting something up, and no woman would willingly, push another woman into the arms of her husband. And the Empress really isn't someone who's as sanctified and as holy as she's presenting herself to be. She clearly is on like some other shit, right? Oh, my hand's itchy. She clearly is doing this for a reason. Like, she has a gain behind this. So eventually the Emperor meets the beauty as she stops singing. She comes to the edge of the pond, and the Emperor, like, he pulls her over, and she finally reveals her face, and it's obviously Attendant On. And everyone is taken aback. Concubine Wan is like, what the hell? What the hell? Like, everyone just is staring. And the Emperor was like, I thought you had a cough. I thought you was sick, girl. Who been taking care of you? And so she's, Concubine On is like, oh, the Empress, or Concubine On, I keep calling her a concubine, and she's not. Attendant On has been taken care of by the Empress. And so the Emperor turns to the Empress, and he's like, you always know exactly what I need. You're just like the best wife ever. And so she's like, I saw you absorbed in so much grief and so much pain, so I made this rash decision to bring you happiness and joy, And of course, once again, Noble Lady Hui and Concubine Wan are just shaking their heads like, I've never seen her be so devoted to His Majesty like this. Like, this, there's something clearly going on here. Like, she wouldn't do all this just to make him happy. There's no way. And so she says this, Concubine Wan says this really good line that makes me, like, question everything about the Empress. And she says, is a loving heart as unselfish as this? Meaning, is someone who claims to have a loving heart as much as she does be so unselfish when it comes to matters like this? Especially when it comes to matters of your significant other. And personally, I would say yes. Personally, because I believe in, like, they're obviously living in a polygamous time where, like, men had many wives, and it sucked for majority of the women there. But I personally do believe that you can be unselfish and you can love multiple people at the same time. I think you can. Done right and communicated effectively, it can be done correctly. But I digress, because that's not what we're talking about. We're in Imperial China. And clearly the Empress isn't doing this just to do it. This isn't some altruistic, motive. Or this isn't some altruistic play. There's clearly reasons that we don't know why she's doing this. But in the end, the plan all works out, and Concubine On, here we go again. I can't wait till she becomes a concubine. Goddamn. But we see Attendant An be promoted to Noble Lady An, right? So now we have updated ranks. And, like, I think this is the beginning of, like, how, yes, like, okay, so what I mean is, Noble Lady An now she's Noble Lady An. Noble Lady An has been in her villain arc for some time now, but I think now this is her revealing that fact to Noble Lady Hui and to Companion Wan. And though she's not like literally saying it, I think this is her way of revealing herself as competition for them. And I mean like competition, and not in like a competitive, kind of, not competitive, not in a camaraderie competitive type of environment. No, as in heads to heads, we are not friends, we are rivals kind of way. And I think Concubine Wan picks up on that. And she stares at the Emperor, and she even looks at him like, okay, so you would even promote her just for a cute little singing voice. Like, you can even see. We also see that Consort Neon is waiting for the Emperor. She wants to join him at the banquet, knowing that even though she wasn't summoned, she wasn't told that she couldn't join, right? But the Emperor just promoted and just found someone newly to favor. And we see that because he immediately sends someone to tell her to just go back. She doesn't have to come to the banquet. She doesn't have to sit with us or anything like that. And this devastates her. This sends her into like a shock that she wouldn't, I guess she wouldn't have seen coming. This sends her to a blow and into a pit of despair. And rightfully so. She's so much more deserving of like a worse punishment, but it is what it is. Like, I'm not gonna talk about this even more. And so like conveniently, Noble Lady Sao's maid, when she hears that the Emperor doesn't want to see Consort Neon, her maid conveniently conveys to her, oh, maybe you should go talk to her and, reassure her that we're on her side, blah, blah, all that kind of shit. And so Noble Lady Sao makes up the excuse that when Yi's tired and feeling a little, she's feeling a little out of it and she's ready to go put her down. So he excuses her and she walks off to, presumably go talk and spend time with Consort Neon. And like throughout this entire thing, the Empress is like, she's so pleased with herself. The Empress is like, at this point, like, she is on cloud 9. Like, she's so happy with her plan was she was so happy with her plan coming to fruition and being back in the good graces of the Emperor because she was able to push Lingrong, or now Noble Lady An, into the arms of the Emperor, if you will. But we see that I wanted to point this out because we see in the next scene Noble Lady Sao is indeed hanging out with Consort Neon. And I want to point this out that Consort Duan was very much on the money when warning Concubine Wan about Noble Lady Sao. She is just as guilty to blame as Consort Neon in everything. Like, she immediately panicked when she realized Consort Neon was grasping at Princess Wen Yi to, like, incite Consort Neon's anger at Noble Lady An, as a way to, covertly direct her attention away from the princess, lending me to believe she probably has done this a lot to protect herself, She probably has used this as a way to, like, not even protect her, but to, like, protect just herself in any situation. And it's really sick. It's really fucked up because it also goes to show you that at any point in time, she'll like she'll throw out random ideas. It doesn't matter how bad they are, what they can do. If she has to protect herself, and not even Princess Wendy, if she has to protect herself, she'll just start giving Consort Neon ideas in ways to get mad at other people, so they don't have to, or so she doesn't have to deal with like the brute force of her anger. And it goes to show you, like I said, Consort Dawn was very much on the money, but also goes to show you that Noble Lady Sao might be another Consort Hua or Consort Neon. She might just be, in the same way that the Empress is grooming Noble Lady An, Consort Neon has groomed Noble Lady Sao, right? Obviously, she has done it in a very harmful way. She's probably caused Noble Lady Sao a lot of pain, and therefore she's probably caused Noble Lady Sao to hate her and inevitably want to see her brought down, even more so. But she knows that as well, until she's actually brought down, she has to be under her foot, like her hoof and foot, until she's either killed off or out of her prime, or doesn't have the same powers, like her literal status that she has. So it's funny to me that, because at first I thought like, oh, okay, she's clearly doing it because she's trying to protect her daughter. But like once her daughter was out of the room, she was still trying to deflect and create these horrible like scenario slash plans for her excuse me, for her to act on. Excuse me. She's inciting her against the Empress and concubine and Noble Lady An now. She's like, whether it was the Empress or concubine 1, you have to stop being angry. You have to think about what you want to do in case His Majesty punishes you. You know, you have to like think on how to save yourself, and therefore me. You know, that's basically what she's doing right now. And that's what I meant by like, she's really doing it just to save herself at this point. But I digress, because I believe that was the last scene in the episode. And really, my final thoughts, this episode really kind of like pissed me off. Like, it did a number on me, I'm not gonna lie. Noble Lady An peeking with the help of the Empress was like, it really was the nail in the coffin for me, especially when it came to disliking the Emperor, because all he has to see is a big butt and a smile and he's done. Fucking idiot. Consort Neon is down and out of favor, but our mains, Concubine 1 and Noble Lady Hui, are still recovering and have to deal with this blow of Noble Lady An, you know, not taking over the spotlight, but taking over the central spotlight of favor. And I'm not sure what to expect next, really. I don't know where this is gonna go. The Empress has made such huge moves, and we don't know if she's gonna start popping out as an antagonist. Noble Lady Sao is doing everything she can to protect herself, and that includes inciting Consort Neon against our two mains here. So there's a whole bunch of like hoopla happening, but a whole bunch of drama related plots that are gonna move this in a way that I can't predict, chat, and I'm not ready for it. Sorry if you hear me munching in the background, but I'm hungry. But with that being said, chat, let's hop back into it. We are moving on to episode 32 of Empresses in the Palace, The Legend of Zhen Huan. All 76 episodes can be found on YouTube at the channel LETV official channel or the Tab TV official channel. However, it is only fully subtitled in English up to episode 52. However, if you'd like to wait a couple more weeks, I'm sure the Magpie Brigade team that is creating the subtitles will have them out, as they are currently updating as we speak. Now, with that out of the way, let us dive right on into it. And honestly, in the first scene, the women were talking so much shit about Noble Lady An and how she got into favor with the Emperor, right? From the last episode. That the Empress had to defend her like she was defending her little sister or something. Like, she was like, because the women kept saying she comes from such a humble background. How did she get to noble lady in just a year? You know, all that shit. And the Empress is like, y'all so fucking mad. Y'all so mad. But no one came up with an idea to how to get the emperor into a better mood, huh? I made a banquet. Y'all made y'all toast. And she sang. And who's the one that made him happy? Her? Okay then. Instead of sitting up here being pissy and creating idle gossip, y'all should be happy. Think of it as medicine. He was in such a bad state that she was his medicine and made him feel better. And it's so funny because you could clearly see, like, in this way that she's directly telling the women that she's under her protection, right? She's directly telling everybody, I'm protecting her. And she was the one who has my protection right now. And of course the Empress is like, you know, I wouldn't have troubled myself to do so if I was just out of all the arrangements. Like, I couldn't think of anything. You know, the Empress trying to play the humble wife card type shit, you know? She was like, the harem is fading. We lost so many women. If I were to bring in hundreds of concubines for a selection, because they have a concubine selection every 3 years, she was saying you women would lose your minds. And so, of course, they're all like, because Consort Jing is like, of course we will bathe, we will never have any issues with what you're saying. And Noble Lady Fuka is like, well, as long as the Emperor likes her, then we'll like her. And that type of shit, right? And I thought it was funny, because, well, technically, the only ones that were, like, talking gossip was Consort Chi, Noble Lady Fuka, and Noble Lady Chin, right? And so, it goes to show you that the ones that are talking shit are the ones who are most unfavored. Like, Noble Lady Fuka was favored up until the point she lost her child, and then she just became, for some reason, just became this, like, I don't know, like, this just, well, she was always a bitch, no lie, she was always a bitch to attendant on, but I've never seen her be so unnecessarily, like, cruel and mean up until she lost her child, right? And then Consort Chi, she's a flunky of the Empress, so she already feel, and especially because she has a son, a prince, she already feel like she the shit. She already feel like she the number one runner. So she felt like even more, I guess you could say she felt like even more justified in making fun of I can't forget her name because it's Noble Lady An. Okay, so yeah, she felt like she could say something to Noble Lady An even more so. But like I said, the Empress defended her and was just even like, of course, if I had brought in other women, everybody would have lost their mind. So I just tried to use what I had, and now that the Emperor's happy, y'all should be happy. So suck it up, type shit. Right? Sorry, chat, I'm eating. Moving on. So Noble Lady Fuka, bro, she's just digging the grave so deep I can't even see her no more. She just keep digging and digging and digging. So as soon as they're done with greeting Her Majesty and everyone's had like their huge discussion, she comes out and she starts to bother concubine Wan, right? And she's like, oh, I see your friend has made or has gotten in favor with the Emperor. You know, it should lift your spirits too. Isn't that how sisters help each other out, right? And so concubine Wan doesn't try to engage with her, right? She's kind of like, she's not inherently rude, but she uses the excuse that she has to meet with the Empress Dowager as to why she can't talk to her. So she like abruptly kind of like gets out the way, right? But Noble Lady Fuka abruptly gets back in her way and is like, but you cannot see His Majesty, but you can see the Empress Dowager? Doesn't that suck? That you can't even see him when you want to? Basically, you know, how do you say? I wouldn't say adding fuel to the fire, because there's no fire raging right now. But like I said, yeah, she's just digging her own grave at this point. And especially with someone like Concubine Juan, who easily forgives but never forgets. Like, nah, bro. I found it hilarious that she thought she could come after her, right? But moving on. Again, Noble Ladies are on. We see her claws coming out to seemingly defend Concubine Juan. And we can see Concubine Juan, like, mildly, like, disturbed and even angry at Noble Lady An for lying to her about her recovery. And she's kind of, like, in this state of, I trust you, but I want to trust you, but I can't trust you because you lie too much type of thing. And I guess Noble Lady An is just, she's, like, over it. She's kind of just like, okay, she doesn't trust me as much as I want or need her to. Because I'm pretty sure she's only staying closer to her at the behest of the Empress. She's not actually staying closer to her because she wants to be her friend. You know, and with this evil villain arc she got going on, you would assume that she would try and go about this in a better way of being a sister. But because she's such a fucking idiot and she can barely handle herself with head-to-head battles, you know? Like, it just seems so, like, it's clearly so faked in the way that she's trying to portray this friendship with Noble Lady Juan. But I digress. Eat some food, chat. You want some, chat? Here. Say, we're good, right? Yeah. I'm eating a vegan Hot Pocket. It's supposed to be vegan cheese and vegan sauce and everything. It's not bad. It's just, you could tell it's not a Hot Pocket. Oh well. I'm also having unsalted plantain chips too, because those are the shit. If you don't like plantains, then you need to go figure out what's wrong with your life. Because plantains are that shit. Okay. It's enough eating plantain. Or is it? Let me get some more. Haha! Alright, now I'm done, chat. But, anyways. We were talking about Noble Lady An and her lying ass. But, after dealing with Noble Lady An and letting her know that, you know, it's not right that she lied to her about her recovery and never told her anything. It's fine that she lied to everybody else, but it's not okay that you lied to me, your friend, in which I could have helped you, right? Or in which I could have been prepared, right? Because at the end of the day, it's not that she's upset that it's not that she is upset that Noble Lady An is, like, obviously being favored by the Emperor. She's just upset that she lied and didn't even say that she had a plan going on with the Empress. And you would think because they're friends and because they're supposedly sisters that she would inform her on, like, major moves like that, you know, which I get, especially because the Empress is such a, like, power head and figurehead. Excuse me. You would want to know if your friend is making deals with somebody like that, especially someone so close to you. But in the next scene, the Empress Dowager and Concubine Juan are talking, and Concubine Juan comes to visit her, pay her respects, whatnot. And for some reason, I don't trust the Empress Dowager, but I trust her more than the Empress. Like, she's not, like, she's aware that she's not some wise, all-knowing, motherly figure, you know? She just happened to live this long through schemes and plotting to get where she is now. And she's very forthcoming about it. She lets her know that it's gonna take having favor and it's gonna take getting favor and power from the emperor in order for her to make a stand for herself. She's been so consumed with wallowing in her grief, so consumed with losing, her child, that the emperor doesn't want to even be around her anymore, and it affects how people treat her and deal with her. Like, she makes the great point that, yeah, you lost your child, but next time you might lose your life because the emperor might not be here to take care of you or come back in time or care enough to come back in time. And so she is, and to me, she is giving her a really good lesson on, even though, it's understandably okay to be this way, you're living in the palace where your livelihood is, it's depicted by the whim of a man. And one of the most powerful men in the world. And if you can't retain that favor and that power, it's gonna be hard living in here. And so, like, Concubine Wan doesn't really say anything. She nods her head. She apologizes for, being in the wrong. Like, she says, I recognize my offense. And she just quietly leaves. She doesn't say anything. She doesn't agree. She doesn't disagree. And honestly, I'm predicting a few obstacles coming Concubine Wan's way. Like, everyone's tried to try to cheer her up. Everyone has tried to cheer her up and tried to tell her to cheer up. Or at least try and bounce back. And this hardhead over here, which, once again, though rightfully so, this hardhead isn't listening. And I feel like... Hold on. Had to eat some chips. I feel like had she listened and heeded the advice of the Empress Dowager, the things that I'm predicting that are going to happen, or these obstacles that I'm predicting that are going to arise, would not be a thing. But hey, sometimes the only person that can tell you about yourself is yourself, You don't listen to other people because you're waiting for your inner self to be that voice for you. But when she gets back to her palace, she begins to just write. And she just kind of just sits there and she's just writing lines, and I guess she's writing scripts or like poems. And her maid, especially Wan Bi, are like upset. They're like, my lady, you need to do something, and you need to figure out something, especially with Noble Lady An. It's suspicious, her speed and her time and speed of her recovery. And, Concubine Wan is just idling away. She's just like, yeah, so what if it's suspicious? One less lonely person in the palace. And her maids are kind of just like at a loss for words. They realize that she is in this like beyond help depressed state. And excuse me. And they don't know what to do. They kind of like they're kind of at a loss for words, but they're also kind of like aware that there's nothing they could say. And I appreciate that. I appreciate them for that, because while being her mage and being her dowry mage, which is a special category maid, and I'm being her friend, one of them being her sister too, they recognize that they can't always do anything for her, or they can't always be there and be able to do something for her, and they just let her be. And I think that's all she needs, really, because she's hard-headed. She clearly isn't listening to anybody. Ooh, it's 555. She isn't listening to the advice of anybody. She's just kind of going with her own flow. And we see when the emperor comes to visit her, like the next day, at the behest, and like kind of like somewhat of the urging of Noble Lady Hui, the emperor comes to visit her the next day, and she's asleep. And when he comes to sit next to her bed, he notices while she's asleep, she's crying and still holding on to the bib that she would have worn, or the baby would have worn. And so the emperor, in his like self-pitying mode, I guess, he's like, even when you sleep, you still cry out for the child. Are you still aggrieved, or are you still upset with me? And I, like, at first I was just like, dude, No, she just wants her fucking baby, stupid. Like, it's not even being upset. It's not even about you anymore. It's about the simple fact that she just can't have her baby. Like, she just wants her baby. That's it. Okay? That's all this fucking is. But like I said, she's hard-headed, right? And even though we know, like, the audience, recognize that her pain is warranted, she's living in Imperial China, where, like I said earlier, her life is just predicated on the whims of one person. And if you can't make that one person happy, they will go somewhere else to seek out that happiness, leaving you cold. And that's what it feels like. That's what it looks like too. When the Emperor leaves, like Vermilion, she looks up and he's like, okay. She looks so shocked at how cold and distant the Emperor like became as soon as he like walks out of the palace, right? And so we see in the next scene like the Empress Dowager and the Emperor talk, and he's talking about how he went to go check on her and everything, and the Dowager guesses correctly how she's still upset. And so she's like, you know what? I'm sick of this shit. She should know better. She should know better. As a concubine, she needs to be devoted to you. And so she kind of pushes him into Noble Lady's arms a little bit, as she's the one who's most devoted to him at the moment, and she can't stand to see him with someone who clearly isn't happy. And so when he leaves, she even is her maid even asks her, like, Your Majesty, why did you advise the Emperor not to see Noble Lady, or excuse me, why did you advise the Emperor not to see Concubine Huan when they clearly are in love with each other? Why did you push him to the arms of Noble Lady An? And so the Empress Dowager says, I just know my son too well. And he cares about Concubine Huan too much. And that's why he gets sad when she gets sad. That's why he gets upset when she gets upset. Because ultimately he's mad at himself. And if they keep seeing each other, it's going to create a permanent rift in between them, in the sense that they will never be able to reconcile their relations. And so this is why I meant by, like, I don't really trust the Empress Dowager, but I trust her more than the Empress, because while not the best person, her motivations are, like, when she talks about them, her motivations are truly, like, in line with that of a caring, loving mother. Like, she cares enough for her son that she doesn't allow, like, him to see who he wants to see, knowing that it would only harm him and their relationship in the end, right? She also cares about Noble Lady Huan enough to tell her, yo, you need to, like, get your head out of, like, Depression Town and get back on the happy train, or you're gonna lose not necessarily your child, but your life next time. And she's right. Like I said, chat, the whims of the Emperor. That's what you have to live by when you sign the contract and become part of the harem. You live by the whims of the Emperor. And she knows this. The Empress Dowager knows this. She's not new to any of this. And she's like, he's allowed to have a beloved concubine. However, he cannot be exclusively devoted to just one concubine. Clearly, that's going to bring chaos. Like, obviously, clearly, that's what happened with Consort Nian, who's out of favor. And because of her entire, like, history with the Emperor has caused so much chaos. So in order to avoid the same scenario, she's blunting the knife that is Concubine Huan by separating him this way. I ain't gonna lie though, this vegan Hot Pocket buzz was good. Whew. Sorry, chat, just had to chew my food properly. You got another bite, chat? Say ah. Mmm. Let me know if it tastes good. Moving on. So in the next scene, we see Concubine Wan is taking a stroll with Jinshi, and she happens to pass Consort Consort Duan and her palace. And so she notices that while Consort Duan has, visited her and given her friendly advice and, made sure she's okay, she's never returned the visit. And so, Jinshi, says like, oh, her palace gates are closed because she's kind of ill. She doesn't like the wind. She doesn't want to be bothered too much, that kind of thing. And so they walk over and they, knock on the door and they wait for a little bit. And then eventually, her personal maid, the actual personal maid of the consort comes and answers the door, which is weird because normally you would have like servants and eunuchs to do that. You wouldn't have like your personal or like, which is your dowager, more than likely your dowry maid, or like the servant you grew up with who followed you from home. Normally they wouldn't do such a thing. It's not necessarily like a bad chore, I guess, but it's just seen as like menial, like to answer doors and messages and stuff like that. You would more than likely have like a eunuch at the door, especially since it's so heavy, And so they ask her, why are you coming to answer the door? You should be inside with Consort Duan. And so they let her in, and they see that Consort Duan is laying down. She's just resting, but there's no servants around. There's no one like taking care of like the yard, or like I guess there's no one like milling about in the palace in itself. And Concubine Wan asks the personal maid like why there's no one else in the palace. And she was like, the maid's like, because Consort Duan fell ill, a few years ago, there's no other concubines assigned to live with her. Because you remember, that's what happened with Attendant An. She lived with Consort Jing, and she lived with Noble Lady Fuka, and that's how Noble Lady Fuka was making all this racket and noise for Noble Lady An and all this bullshit. But, excuse me. We see that there are no other concubines who are assigned to live with Consort Duan. And so it's super quiet, but Concubine Wan is just like, yeah, that's understandable that it's super quiet and peaceful, but what about servants? Like, no maids or anything like that? Did they all move away? And her maid's like, no, it's just Consort Duan kind of sent them all away. She wanted to just be by herself. Which we know is a lie. We know that she even if she did send some people away, like, we know that she would have kept at least enough for her to, like, have staff to do things that she wouldn't be able to do, especially since she's so sickly. And so, even Concubine Wan is like, okay, that's a lie, but anyways. What about the doctors? Have the doctors come and visited her? Because as she walks into the room, she notices Consort Duan looks a little sickly, and, she doesn't look too well. She doesn't have any color in her face. And so the maid tells her, with so many occurrences happening in the palace, Consort Duan has made sure to just continuously take the old medicine that had been prescribed to her from years past. And she didn't want to trouble the doctors in that way as well. And so, even Concubine Wan is like, while she knows that she should be cautious, she still deserves to see like a good doctor, not necessarily, just kind of like, because once again, she's framing it as like not wanting to bother anybody and sending her servants away so they don't have to deal with her, but she's aware that Consort Duan is doing this because, one, she wants to be left alone and she wants to feel safe, but she also knows that having so many people like access to her food and her medicine, it's an easy way for her to get hurt. So what Concubine Wan does is she gets Dr. or Imperial Physician Wen, Dr. Wen, because he's a trusted doctor, and then she has Jinshi bring over trustworthy servants, like a reliable maid and a sturdy eunuch, she says. People that she'll trust and know that will just get the job done. And she goes to sit by Consort Duan to wait for her until she wakes up. And she does wake up. And eventually they're sitting there talking, and excuse me. They're sitting there talking, and she like grabs a little shirt for her, and she asks how come she comes to visit. And she was saying it's nothing new with my sickness. It's just like a few seizures. It's something I've always had. It's fine. It doesn't matter. And so she's like Concubine Wan's like, no, your health matters, my love. Like, what's wrong? What's going on? And Concubine Wan doesn't say much. She kind of avoids the topic. So Consort Duan's like, how are you recovering? I haven't seen you for so long, and you slimmed down a little bit. You don't look so good. And once again, Concubine Wan just smiles, doesn't say anything. She changes the subject again. Excuse me, try to get some water. She changes the subject again, and she's just like, oh, I see that, while having no servants in the palace, and, essentially being closed off, your eyes and ears, hear widely. You perceive, the palace affairs without even stepping out of your own palace. It's no wonder you're well informed. And so she's just like, well, what I know is just superficial. It's not much. But seeing you here, I could tell the child is the lifeblood of the mother, and even an unborn child is loved like life water. You know what I'm saying? And I could tell by your sudden loss that this is more than just devastating. This is something that's inextricably like killing you. And so Consort Duan says something that really makes me happy. Really, she is the motherly figure to Concubine Wan in a way. The elder sister figure to her. She advises her in a lot of things that not necessarily Concubine Wan doesn't see or know, but that she just can't see for herself just yet. And she tells her, because Concubine Wan is like, it was sudden, me losing my child, but, I might have been weak. I might have been taking things that could have caused that, and not necessarily the punishment that was brought upon me. And Consort Duan shakes her head, and she's like, we don't know that for sure. We don't know anything for sure. And we just know that she was trying to reestablish her authority, and my suspicion is because of that. And she's talking about Consort Nian. She knew if you had a miscarriage, she would be the first one, held accountable. So it doesn't make sense for her to do it in this way. And her cleverness end up causing her, a lot more trouble than what it would have. So it doesn't seem like she was gunning to kill your child. It seemed like she was trying to just, if anything, scare you. And Concubine Wan's like, whether accidental or intentional, the only thing I wish I could have done better, or the only thing I regret not being able to do, is avenge my child. And this is the line I'm talking about that really did it for me. Consort Duan says, I've lived with my illness for years, and I am in no hurry. Why are you? We'll wait. We will wait. And when I say that line just had me grin, smile, ear to ear, like grin, Cheshire grin type smile from ear to ear, I love that. I love that. Because without that one line, something tells me that Concubine Wan would have done something stupid, or Concubine Wan would have gotten herself into such a weird, awkward position of trying to do something stupid that she wouldn't have been able to stop. And with this advice telling her to wait and be patient, the evildoers may escape punishment from the earthly realm, but nothing ever escapes the eye of the heavenly realm, and though not huge on spirituality and things like that, I could tell that really affected Concubine Wan. She literally, like, Concubine Dwan became, or excuse me, Consort Dwan became my favorite person in the entire drama with that one line. And it's simply because it's the one piece of advice that's probably saved Concubine Wan from, like, certain death. And those few obstacles I was even predicting coming her way. Maybe she won't even have to deal with such, like, blunders because of that advice. Maybe she'll recognize and realize that though I may not be able to pull myself out from my sadness, I might not be able to pull myself out from wallowing in pity and despair, I could wait. And I can do a lot with waiting. She could do a lot with waiting. So I really enjoyed that line, chat. Like, that really stuck out to me for some reason, and I will never forget this. Like, I know people don't really consider specifically K-dramas and C-dramas when thinking about, like, groundbreaking cinema and things like that, or it's not necessarily in mainstream's purview, but it is in mine. And I say that because there are a lot of things and a lot of scenarios that are played out in these dramatized plots and these ancient dramatized plots. But there's always slim pieces of advices, sliver pieces of advices that I pick up that I realize that can be used in modern day. And not necessarily because of the writing. It could be because of the writing. But it's also because of the actors and the specific situations that they're placed in and how these characters have to develop to get to where they are to then better themselves from these situations. And I really do enjoy the way in which they displayed, these lessons in these drama stories, and especially in this particular episode of Empresses in the Palace. The way they kind of displayed Concubine Wan's need to get revenge, and she's unsettled and restless because she's missing her baby, but the person who killed her baby isn't being punished, so she's just like, she can't be happy, she can't be sad, she's just angry. And all it took was the line of, we will wait, and knowing that at some point in time that she can get her revenge. And some, and I even saw that, some even say that online, that the Emperor said the same thing to her and saying, oh, he would get revenge. But I think it's completely different, because the Emperor can say a lot of things. The Emperor will say a lot of things to make her feel better about it and to make the situation seem okay, right? But there's no reason for Consort Dwan to want to do that. She genuinely hates Consort Nian as much as Concubine Wan hates Consort Nian. And so for her to even tell her straight up, we're gonna get revenge, don't you worry. I've had to wait this long. It just goes to show you that there is no ulterior motive of, oh, I need to use her family, and I need to, like, have her brother on my side so we can continue doing this. While it may seem like proper, like, excuses, because they're still excuses at the time, it still shows the selfishness of the Emperor. Because when it came to the fact that someone had quite literally intentionally killed your child, you even said it yourself, that she intentionally killed and was intentionally aware of Concubine Wan being pregnant, and still did what she did, so that's a just intent and what she intended to do. Even with that, all that knowledge, you didn't even imprison her. You just confined her to her palace and demoted her. Like, she still gets to walk around and dress up in her robes and her makeup. She still gets to have like a pissy attitude, you know what I'm saying? All those things. But like I said, this one line really did it for me, But moving on, I digress, because I went for a long time for talking about that. It's great. I almost forgot I had a hot pocket. Excuse me. I just need to start buying more of these vegan hot pockets, because they're really good. Like, don't get me wrong, I do like regular hot pockets. I like meat in general. But adding some vegan options into my diet, adding vegetarian options into my diet in general, has been really good for me. And I like snacking. And these vegan hot pockets are where it's at, dude. Like I said, moving on. In the next scene, we see Jade and Wanbi, and they're so cute. Excuse me, not Jade and Wanbi. We see Jade and Vermilion, or Liju and Wanbi together, and they're so cute sometimes, and you can tell that they really care, or they at least try to care for Concubine Wan in their own way. However, Wanbi have just made things worse with her comments about Noble Lady An and towards Noble Lady An. And I say that because Noble Lady An is currently favored by the Emperor, and it's like saying shit like that could get passed on to the Emperor and therefore make it harder for you, or make it harder for your mistress, because, you know, they happen to overhear shit. And I just don't understand why, like, Wanbi thought she was gonna, like, because you know for a fact that, like, Noble Lady An's gonna say something to the Emperor. She's that type of vindictive, weak character. So I don't know why Wanbi thought it was smart to even just, even though she was clearly, like, being polite and smart about what she was saying, I don't know why she tried to incite her like that. But I digress, because that is the end of this episode, episode 32. And my final thoughts are, we have a new favorite, or at least I have a new favorite, in Consort Wan. She is really proving herself to be a strong ally, and while on the other hand, Noble Lady An has proved herself to be the exact opposite in being a shitty ally, quite literally lying to Concubine Wan about her recovery and about what she was doing in the meantime to recover. And I'm also predicting a few bumps in the road in the form of the Empress and her flunkies in the next episode, because you can all kind of see that they're not gunning for Concubine Wan, but they're all kind of trying to enclose themselves around her, whether it's with the people she's associating with, or whether it's with the things that she's doing in the background. The Empress is trying to worm her way in using Noble Lady An. She's trying to worm her way in both into the Emperor's heart and also worm her way into Concubine Wan and seeing what she's about, and whether, because I'm not sure on whether or not she wants to kick Concubine Wan out or if she wants to bring Concubine Wan to her side. But I could tell that Concubine Wan is a threat to her. I can tell that she doesn't like Concubine Wan, and I'm not sure what she's going to do about it. But we do see that the Empress is closing in on her for sure. Alright, chat. I'm going to take a quick piss break. I'll be right back. Don't you go anywhere unless you're getting hydrated and unless you're getting some food. And in that case, that's fine. But I'll be right back. Heyo, we're back. I hope I didn't take too long. Let's see. Let us get back to it. We got 2 more episodes, and we're hopping right into episode 33. We were just dealing with episode 32, and dealing with the Empress and her possible, uprise, and uptake against, her possible uprise and dislike, and therefore the uprise and actions taken against Concubine Wan. Whoa, first time chatter by followers, primes, and viewers. No. Sorry, dude. Gihorobin? Yeah, no guy. I'm okay. Thank you, though. If you like, you could follow me. I appreciate it. But, like I said, let's get back into it. I was getting a little caught off guard there, so I didn't hear my chatter. Okay, what was I saying? Oh yes, we were talking about the Empress and how the uptick in her, her moves in terms of what she's doing against Concubine Wan has increased. She's kind of taking more drastic action. We see her using Noble Lady An as a way to do that now, especially having been familiar with Concubine Wan for so long. We see the Empress using her as a way to get closer to her and therefore get more information, possibly. We're not really sure what the end game is. But in this next episode, episode 33 of Empresses in the Palace, you can also catch this episode online on YouTube at the LeTev or LETV official channel. However, just be aware that the subtitles, the English subtitles in particular, are not going to be updated up until episode 52. So, or are updated until episode 52 and have not yet been updated thereafter. That being said, the team that works with them, they're getting the updates up there. They'll even let you know in the comments if you scroll down sometimes that some of the episodes are available. So if you're watching along with us on YouTube, you might just have to wait. If not, and you're forging ahead using a different site, because I know there are some other sites that have bad translations out there, feel free, but you just might have to deal with some misinterpretations. That being said, let us move on. And first scene in, we see, so we actually see Lady Borgigit, a princess, I think? No, a wife of the prince, or the wife of the brother of the emperor. There you go. And I want to know if she's like an ally or something, because she pops in to come visit Concubine Wan, and even Concubine Wan was like, I've only ever talked with this lady once. Why is she coming to visit me? And why is she coming to visit me, like, now, out of all things, when I've had a miscarriage and whatnot? But eventually, she barges in, and she brings in, ginseng. And ginseng is really good for replenishing chi and things like that. And so, Concubine Wan, though not very trusting, recognizes that even though they're not on friendly terms, and even though they aren't the best of friends, she wouldn't see as to why, Lady Borgigit would bring something harmful over, so she sends the ginseng to the imperial infirmary to be used, and whatnot. And so, we see Noble Lady An in the next scene is, like, the ancient Chinese imperial concubine version of a pygmy. Okay, she really is, dude. And if you don't know what a pygmy is a woman, and there are male pygmies, but specifically the term a pygmy or a pygmy is like saved or reserved for a woman that is willing to do anything for male approval. She will embarrass, or she'll like throw other women under the bus to achieve this goal, and she craves male attention, while often stating that she's not like other women, right? So that literally describes Noble Lady An to me. Like, she threw her friends under the bus. She constantly is doing any and everything for the approval of the emperor, which almost a lot of the women are. Like, I mean, you can consider Consort Nian a pick-me, but I'm really gonna stick and focus on Noble Lady An, right? Excuse me. I really don't fuck with her at all. But on the opposite of that, in its purest form, in my opinion, Noble Lady Hui demonstrates what true sisterhood looks like. She isn't afraid to call her friend out on the spot and tell her how it is. She also recognizes for Concubine Wan that so what if you have to compete with Noble Lady An for favor? So what if you have to deal with her like transgressions, you know, after a while? Like so what? They're all fighting for a piece of or a bigger piece of the same pie, and there will always be women, or there will always be more women who want to as well. So why continue to let yourself wither and like, you know, just wallow in this bullshit? Fighting is literally the only way to survive in the palace. And that's what I was saying earlier, that these women's fates are predicated off of the whim of one man, the whim of the emperor. And that is what you live by. That is what you're striving to live by. And typically these women fight so hard because it is hard to live in such a place where you're constantly fighting for favor and attention and status and, like she said, a bigger piece of the same fucking pie that other women are fighting for. It's hard to deal with that. But anyway, I was just saying, Noble Hui was a great representation of sisterhood, whereas we have Noble Lady An, who's the opposite representation of that. Anyways, moving on. I digress. One of the next like scenes that I wanted to note was Wan Bi. She happened to overhear someone playing the flute, right? And she thinks she's real slick, not knowing who playing the flute. Like she tried to play it off, like, what's going on? What the hell? You know what I'm saying? And she thought she real slick, trying to like, oh, I don't know, maybe if you go out there and see who it is, right? She was so cute, trying to act like, excuse me, trying to act like she didn't know, who or why the flute was being played, like, right outside their palace gate, right? And I thought she was so sleek for doing that, right? And why, in particular, she wants both Concubine and Wan to go. Because we know why she wants to go, right? But I wanted to point that out because obviously it's Prince Gao, right? And oh shit, Prince Gao likes Concubine Wan. I don't think she likes him back though. And the reason why I'm a little like, oh shit, because somebody obviously evil, the Empress, Noble Lady An, will use that against her to slander her. And saying that she's having an affair with him. Even though she clearly isn't. Even though she maintains respectable distance and keeps herself away from the bullshit. Right? But I digress. Moving on. In the next scene, Noble Lady An, like, is coming back from, I guess, having, like, served the Emperor. And I say that because the maid from the Empress is here, and she's like, congratulations on your delightful service, right? I'm eating candy in the background, chat. Sorry. It's not really candy. It's like, it's chewy ginger pieces, and they're called gingins. And I really love them because I love ginger. But anyways, back to what I was saying. So she just got back from servicing the Emperor, I guess. And the Empress's maid is there. And she's giving her that bowl of infertility medicine. And it's like, I must deliver Her Majesty's bidding, you know? And like, as usual, here's your medicine. And I'm pretty sure that's the price she has to pay for getting help is drinking infertility medicine. Right? And I'm like, so this is kind of, you see the tit for tat here and why the Empress is helping Noble Lady An. Noble Lady An won't get pregnant and therefore won't be a threat to the Empress's power. And the Empress gets to use her to get closer to Concubine Wan, but also uses her to get closer to the Emperor because the Emperor favors her, right? And then we see that Noble Lady An is getting favor out of the arrangement. She's getting favor and status and promotions out of the arrangement that she has with the Empress. And that's why I'm just like, I knew there had to be a little bit more behind this than her just wanting to help Noble Lady An. Like, I knew she wanted to get something out of, like, Concubine Wan. Like, I knew she wanted to, like, the Empress wanted to, like, get closer to Concubine Wan through Noble Lady An, but I didn't know what Noble Lady An in particular was getting out of this outside of, or not Noble Lady, I didn't know what the Empress was getting in particular outside of this, other than just not having to, I guess, having Noble Lady An deal with Concubine Wan instead of hands-on doing that. But it's still such a shitty arrangement because, one, who says that Noble Lady An isn't going to be a threat to the Empress, right? What if the Emperor likes so much that she gets so close to the position of Empress, which would be Imperial Noble Consort? What if Noble Lady An becomes the next Consort Hua, right? What can the Empress do? Like, I guess she could blackmail her, right? With doing evil deeds, but so could Noble Lady An blackmail the Empress back. Like, it's not like Noble Lady An isn't aware of the things that she's doing. So I just wanted to know, like, the real reasons and the real price behind all of this. Like, the real price that Noble Lady An has to pay. But in the next scene that we see, too, another wake-up call, courtesy of Noble Lady Hui. She, like, comes into Concubine Wan's palace and she sees her there just knitting clothes. And she gets infuriated. She gets really angry and she grabs her by the hand and she pulls her to the side door of the cold palace. And it's really sad. It's a whole bunch of women. It's like 4 or 5 women who clearly, like, have lost their minds and have been unfavored and are now kind of like just jumping around. Oh, play with me. No, you play with me. No, you cheated. No, you cheated. Oh, when we're the Emperor, like, they're clearly, like, have gone insane. Because they have been locked up in, like, this 4x4 red wall, like, section of the palace where they don't get proper food, they don't get treated, they don't get doctors, they're just literally discarded women for one reason or another, you know? And they even see Concubine, I think her name was Concubine Beauty? What's her name? Concubine Li. She was the concubine that they initially scared or, like, frightened to like insanity due to her fear of ghosts and was thrown in the cold palace. We see what's become of her. And she's literally sitting on a straw pile with a broken mirror pretending to put on makeup. You know? And next to her is a woman covered in fleas who's, like, taking the fleas off of her body and just eating it. And it's like, this is nothing but a destitute, like, sad, horrible place. They smell of mildew. They look dirty. They're in dirty clothes. And it's just, I'm recalling it and I'm just like, ugh. Even I was just completely turned off. And so Concubine Wan rushes out and, you know, she's like trying to grasp for air, and she's like, I hope you didn't, like, come to bring me here just to see Concubine Li. I hope you didn't come here just to, like, you know, remind me of her or something like that. And no. And Noble Lady Hui's like, no. Did you not see the woman next to her? She was a noble lady as well, one time or another. And so, you know, curious, Concubine Wan's like, well, who is she? And Noble Lady Wei is like, it doesn't matter who she is. What matters is simply who she's not. She happened to be pregnant and had an accidental miscarriage. She drowned herself in sorrow and like fell out of favor. Later, she claimed that Consort Hua or Consort Nian killed her child and was the murderer of her child. But unfortunately, due to the loss of favor, she was banished to the Cold Palace for slander. And the emperor didn't even come see her. The emperor didn't even want to hear her excuses. He just immediately threw her in for accusing Consort Nian, right? And she's saying that nobody knew if it was slander or not. Nobody investigated because it didn't matter. His Majesty believed that it was slander and had her locked up. He didn't even give her a chance to explain herself. And she's saying absence makes a man forgetful. Basically explaining that the next time you get in trouble, the emperor might not even care enough to want to hear your explanation. He might just end up believing the party that's accusing you. And it's another great reminder, like, you don't want to end up in the Cold Palace. You do not need to sit here burying yourself in grief. Because when it comes down to it, even if you are guilty or not, the emperor he's not gonna care. He's not gonna have enough of a time to listen. And this is the lesson I'm telling you. You continue to indulge your depression. What they are now is what you will be in your future. And like I said in the last episode, Consort Dawn's words, "We will wait," woke her up and it prevented her from doing anything stupid. But this lesson from Noble Lady Hui had, essentially woke her up and stopped her from the path of like depression and anger and sorrow that she was on. And these two women truly are like the shining light, the savior to Concubine Wan's story. They're probably one of the main reasons why she's able to. Ooh, I got music playing too loud in the background. They're probably the reasons why Concubine is able to get through some of the bullshit. Because obviously we know she gets through. We got 63 episodes to watch, and we're only on episode 33. But it was probably rough for a while, and it probably would have gotten worse had it not been for Consort Dawn and Noble Lady Hui. Alright? So I just wanted to point that out because, once again, a great lesson from Noble Lady Hui. But anyways, moving on. Let's see here. We were talking about Noble Lady Hui. Sorry, chat. Just checking my phone. Got a little text message. Big shout out to lurkers. I hadn't said anything, but I wanted to make sure I said something. You guys have made streaming so much fun. You guys literally pop in and out, and I appreciate you for checking in on my channel, looking at some of the things that I'm watching, having fun with me. And if you are enjoying yourselves, go ahead and hit that follow button. Why not even chat in here for the first time? A Twitch account's free. A Twitch Prime account is free. Hey, do you feel like you want to, hang, want to chat with me every now and then? I'm here, lurkers. And for my non-lurkers, because I love y'all too, y'all definitely gotta chat. If you're a non-lurker, like you got an account holder and you here with Twitch, y'all better be chatting in this bitch. Let's go. Okay. Everything is almost taken care of, chat. I just gotta handle some business. You know what it's like when you gotta handle the business, chat, Also, my pup is at the door. She wants to come in. Alright. Let me get my dog. Let me get John. Come. Come. Oi. Oi. Say hi. Say hi. You gonna say hi for chat? Oh, I don't think she wants to say hi today, chat. Alright, come on. Bye-bye. Alright. I'm back, chat. Sorry about that. But yes, we were talking about Empresses in the Palace, and we were specifically talking about the big lesson from not wanting to go into the Cold Palace, because you can't do shit in the Cold Palace. You're just locked up there for life. You're gonna more than likely go insane. And if you thought like any treatment or any mistreatment you dealt with before was bad, the Cold Palace is worse. But yeah, we got that that really big lesson from Noble Lady Hui. But in the next scene, and like this scene is really good too, because we were talking about this from a few scenes ago. Sure enough, the Empress confirms that she is setting herself up to be an even bigger foe, an even bigger evil than Consort Nian. She's sitting there talking to the Lady An, and she's talking about how like because she's favored now, she gets more things. Like the last time, if you guys remember, Noble Lady Wan got like shoe brocade shoes and like shoe brocade clothing. And this time around, when it comes to tributary gifts and things like that, Noble Lady An also got shoe brocade, but she got more than what Noble Lady Wan had ever gotten before in the past. And so the queen is just chatting her up about that and telling her, because you're newly favored, you know, you have to stabilize your position and you have to take advantage of these things while you're still young and whatnot. And then she's even talking to her about like drinking the infertility soup or the contraception soup. And the Empress is like, it's not like I want you to have a child, it's just I wouldn't want someone to, you know, unfortunately harm your child, and then you're in the same position that concubine one is in, and we therefore can't take advantage of, you know, some of the things we were trying to take advantage of before. And so, of course, Noble Lady An, not necessarily believing the Empress, but knowing that she can't really say anything against her. You know, she says, "Oh, I appreciate your advice. I wasn't aware before." You know, blasé squasé, kind of just placating her and whatnot. And we see too that, like, especially with the facial expressions, like, she doesn't believe her, right? She doesn't believe anything that she's saying. She's not necessarily like how do you say, como se dice, like, we probably have to keep an eye on Noble Lady An too. And I say that because something tells me that Noble Lady An, like Noble Lady Sao, is not happy with the situation and predicament that they're in under the women of the harem, in terms of like the women being higher. So Noble Lady Sao under Consort Hua, or Consort Nian now, and then Noble Lady An under the Empress, because they have to be under someone who's clearly more of power and of more status. A lot of their lives are dictated by some of the things that they say and do. And Noble Lady Wan looks like she's tired of it, but she goes with the flow. She kind of nods her head. Like I said, she says, "Thank you for the advice. I wasn't aware." But something tells me, like Noble Lady Sao, Noble Lady An is going to try and jump ship. I'm predicting this here, that Noble Lady An, like, while eventually annoyed with the Empress and her demands, like making her take contraception medicine, will eventually turn on the Empress. Now, turn on her for who? I could not say, because she turned on Concubine Wan, and obviously Concubine Wan is like the heroine or the main hero or the main lead, I guess you could say. And once you turn against them, it's like, you kind of did yourself a disservice because they have plot armor. Not that, obviously not that the characters know that, but it's like, really? You turned against the main character. Do you think you're gonna survive this? Anyways, moving on. In the next scene, fucking Christ, we deal with fucking Noble Lady Fuka and Consort Chi, and it's, why are they such fucking idiots? Like, why is, okay, so what happened is, let me explain what happened, because I could talk about how mad I am first, but then you won't understand about what happened in itself. So, Consort Chi and Noble Lady Fuka were walking out, and accidentally, Concubine Wan bumped into her being Consort Chi, and, you know, she immediately apologized, and she's like, I'm sorry, and then Consort Chi being the bitch, she's like, you haven't even seen the Emperor in a few months, have you forgotten the rules of the palace already? And so, of course, Noble Lady Fuka adding fuel to the fire is just like, oh, you want to be pardoned? You remember to apologize to Her Highness, but now you want to be pardoned for your mistake? Oh no. And of course, this is what I mean by, like, Noble Lady Fuka being a fucking idiot. This continues on for a couple more moments where Consort Chi isn't necessarily looking to punish Concubine Wan and is clearly trying to just leave, but due to her pride being inflated by Noble Lady Fuka and Noble Lady Fuka's stupid, her instigating it all, you know, it gets worse. She forces her, like, Noble Lady Fuka forces her to bow, right? And at first, that's enough for Consort Chi. Consort Chi is like, just stay out of my way, you know, don't offend me again. And she gets ready to walk off. But of course, Noble Lady Fuka, smelling blood in the water like the dumbass shark she is, like, blatantly ends up using Consort Chi to vent her anger on Concubine Wan. She ends up blaming her for a miscarriage, unaware the person she's colluding with is a flunky of the person who was the cause of her miscarriage. You know what I'm saying? So she's unaware that the person she's using to vent anger out on, Consort Chi, is the person who actually is a flunky or is a friend of the person who caused her miscarriage, aka the Empress. So she's here, like the idiot that she is trying to harm Concubine Wan under the, I guess because she feels like, oh, you caused my miscarriage, so I'm gonna take it out on you, right? Without any, like, proof. She uses that to vent her anger out. And we all know that is the dumbest thing. Once again, you're setting yourself up against the main character, but that's the dumbest thing you could have done, was blatantly sit there and use, like, Consort Chi to get, like, to Concubine Wan, right? And I say this because, like, Consort Chi is also an idiot, because she ends up falling for it. She does, you know, like, she slaps, and I say she slaps the shit out of Concubine Wan. Like, she what was it? Like, oh yes, okay. Noble Lady Fuka uses the third prince, and Consort Chi feeling insecure about the third prince and his standing in the harem to incite Consort Chi into slapping the shit out of Concubine Wan. And I'm just like, how much of a fucking idiot do you have to be? How much of an idiot do you have to be? She also ends up, like, you know, getting upset because Concubine Wan talks about how she let go, because you have to remember, Consort Chi tried to, like, poison Concubine Wan with the oleander poison. You remember how she tried to dust, like, her pastry cakes and send them to her so she could miscarry? So Consort Chi gets upset about that when Concubine Wan is like, listen, I have no grudge against you. Even when you tried to poison me while I was pregnant, I have let it go. You know? And so this angers Consort Chi, and she gets angry, like I said, and she slaps the shit out of Concubine Wan, so for apparently openly defying her. And it's not even that she even uses her hands. She uses her maid's hands to slap her. And I feel bad for the maid because the maid doesn't even want to slap Concubine Wan. She's like, I'm sorry. Like, she whispers to Concubine Wan, I'm sorry. And so she leans forward and she slaps her once. And apparently it's not good enough. Apparently it wasn't hard enough. And they forced the maid, whose name is Apple, I think. They forced her to slap the hell out of fucking Concubine Wan until she bleeds, guys. Until she bleeds. So, yeah. Idiots. Literally landing themselves in the boiling pot. And as, like, enemies against Concubine Wan, which I don't understand why they thought was okay. I digress. Moving on. I love the subtle transition we see in Concubine Wan taking place. Like, in taking Noble Lady Fuka's advice and letting the physical pain remind her of the situation she's currently in, and the path that she's currently on can only go one place, ruin, she comes back to her palace and begins to set up a plan. She immediately begins to put on makeup. She tells Wan Bi to I think she tells her to go to her what's it called? What is it called? The Department of Household Affairs. I was like, the Children and Families? Like, I couldn't remember. State Department? I just couldn't remember, like, the official title. But she sends Wan Bi to the Department of Household Affairs to get more charcoal. And, to, get more makeup for her. And she essentially pulls herself back up from her bootstraps. She literally allowed that reminder to serve as a reminder. She allowed that reminder to serve as a reminder and to, I guess, keep that hatred in her heart, to remember those who forced her into this. Because it didn't have to be this way. If you remember, Concert Chi allowing herself to be incited by and it's funny because she was incited by someone of lower status and position by a noble lady. Noble Lady Fuka incited Consort Chi to do this for no reason. Even when she herself didn't want to, she allowed herself to be incited to do so. But anyways, Concubine Wan, like I said, she comes back, she gets ready, and she has Jinxie there with her to kind of like motivately talk to her. And she kind of like puts into this plan. We don't know what the plan is, but she puts into motion this plan. She has Wan Bi grab butterflies for her. They need as much butterflies as possible. And they're like, oh, it's the middle of it's the middle of summer, I think. Or no, excuse me, the middle of winter. No, lies. It's the end of winter and spring has started, but there's not enough like vegetation and flowers around that she can capture these butterflies. So Wan Bi gets this ingenious idea, and god damn it, what she had to do is, but she gets this ingenious idea to casually mention to Prince Gao, to not capture the butterflies, but she casually mentions to Prince Gao that she doesn't understand why her lady, or why Concubine Wan asked her to capture butterflies, because around this time of year there's not a lot of butterflies, right? And she doesn't know what to do. And so she's like, I'm afraid you didn't do well in comforting her, because now she's become more confused in her sadness and has me looking for fucking butterflies at like the beginning / end of like winter, spring, where mostly none exist. And you could tell she's doing this as a subtle but sly way to get him to get the butterflies for her, right? Because it's almost winter now, right? And there's not going to be there's not going to be any butterflies near the palace. And so they come up with this idea, or, well, I wouldn't say they come up with. Jade casually mentions the idea that if you wanted to get some butterflies for her, you know, if you wanted to help out, there's a hot spring nearby that majority of the butterflies currently are gathering around. And so, god damn it, like in this way, like I'm 2 points to Gryffindor because I'm glad, good job. But didn't Concubine Wan just tell 1B to stay away from Prince Guo? Like, I feel like she just told her, like, let's try and keep our distance after what happened so we don't, you know, cause ourselves any undue eyes or gossip to spread around, right? But of course, 1B doesn't listen, and she's just like, I'm gonna do it anyway, because 1B does whatever the fuck she likes to do, okay? So, final thoughts on this episode. Yes. I am so ready for the return, for the revival, for the, what's the word, chat? I don't know, resurrection? Yes, revival, retrieval, resurrection, whatever, of Concubine Wan. And she is coming back, baby, with force. She had a couple of harsh but necessary wake-up calls, and I think the Empress, Concert Chi, Noble Lady An, and Noble Lady Fuka are all on the chopping block, boys. They about to get it, okay? Also, we see pros and cons happening. We see, like, Prince Gao and Lady Borjinjin come out of the woodworks as potential allies. I'm pretty sure Prince Gao is, but Lady Borjinjin hasn't necessarily laid out exactly why she helped Concubine Wan, but I'm sure we'll figure that out, right? I'm sure we'll figure that out. But before we get into our last episode, give me one more break, chat. I'm going to go pee, grab some water, and I'll be right back. Ayo, we are back. Can you hear me? Am I coming through clearly? Let me do a quick sound check while I can. Ayo, we are back. Oh, we sound great. We sound crisp. And that's what I love to hear. Welcome back, chatters. Welcome back, clubbers. We are finishing up episode 7 of our watch club today. We are finally on episode 34 of our review. And I just want to say, like, LMAO, first off. First off, because I opened the episode up and I was like, of course. It's the CGI, okay? Can we just talk about the CGI of the show? Like, she has, like, these butterflies in a glass, and they clearly aren't there. They don't even have, like, the shadows of the butterflies reflecting, okay? But it was a cute little attempt, and I guess we'll say the butterflies are there. But moving on. We see Concubine Wan is up and has gotten up, and she's ready, baby. She's creating a plan, and she's creating some type of way to get back in the Emperor's graces, because we see that she's trying to carry this out in a timely manner, because it's for the Empress to see her, or Emperor to see her, excuse me. She's making sure that she has a nice gown to wear. She wants it printed with I think it was flying geese, which symbolizes love and affection and stuff like that. And we also see her worrying about if the plan itself will be in time with his viewing of the garden. Right? We also say Noble Lady Hui has come to visit, and she is very much happy to see Concubine Wan is out of her grief and out of this mourning stage that she was in for her child. And even Noble Lady Wan says she was honoring her child, but she has been enlightened thanks to several people, and she is no longer who she was, so these are all good things. These are all good things for her and her character development. And I don't know if it was intentionally written this way, but I saw the parallels between Concubine Wan and Consort Neon, in terms of how Concubine Wan is literally rising again. She's rising to the top again. She's pulling herself up by her bootstraps and getting ready to be in favor again, while Concubine Neon is also doing the same thing. While one is down and out, so is the other. While one is in favor, so is the other also trying to be in favor as well. I digress. Wait, let me see here. Hey chat, give me 1 second. I gotta take a quick call. I'll be right back, okay? Do not go anywhere. Heyo, I am back. Sorry about that, chat. I just had to handle something real quick. And I might rush a little bit through this last episode, but we're gonna get through it no matter what. I want to make sure that I always commit to completing my Watch Club episodes because I do it for you guys as much as I do it for me. But we are back. Let me do another sound check. Make sure I sound good. Make sure you can hear me clearly. Hey, and you can. Let me reorient myself. Let me see. Did I exit out of my script? LOL. Sorry chat, just pulling up my script one more time. Okay, yes. So, we were talking about Consort Neon and Concubine Huan, and we were talking about the similarities and the parallels between their plots, and how I didn't know if it was intentionally written this way, but it seems like one's favor is dependent on the other, and one being down and out is also dependent on the fact that the other is down and out. And it's also funny to see that as soon as Concubine Huan made up her mind about fully returning to the harem, we see Consort Neon writing a petition to the emperor to return to the harem as well. And of course, Consort Neon is still uncaring of the crimes she committed against Concubine Huan, stating she thinks she deserves the silent treatment as much as Consort Neon thinks she doesn't. And that kind of pretty much speaks major volumes of Consort Neon's thoughts and how she handles these types of things. She doesn't see herself as the bad guy, she's the victim. And everyone around her is deserving of everything going wrong to them except for her, you know? And the reason why I pointed this out is because, once again, I guess I don't know if it's written that way, but it's very interesting to see that someone who's as evil as Consort Neon and someone who's as good as Concubine Huan still be so similar and be so similarly written. But anyways, I digress. But I wanted to know, because as I was watching, I wanted to see if, in particular, if Noble Lady An had brought up, excuse me, because we see, after Consort Neon is writing her petition, we move into the next scene where Noble Lady An is with the Emperor, and I wanted to know if she intentionally brought up Concubine Huan while the Emperor was talking about Consort Neon as a way to have him think of both women at the same time, so he doesn't inadvertently associates each other, or each woman with each other, you know? And I was like, you sneaky bitch. You see what you're doing? Okay. And so, I thought it was interesting because the way she frames it is in terms of losing affection, right? She says, it's understandable that Consort Neon wants to return to the harem, but because of her, her transgressions, is it worth seeing Concubine Huan so upset? She kind of frames it in that way. Whereas, is it worth seeing Concubine Huan in such a miserable, sad state because you want to be with, or possibly be with, Consort Neon? And the Emperor, is like, you know what? This wretch doesn't deserve to come back. She doesn't deserve any of the, I guess, the privileges of being in the harem currently. But you see, what I mean by, sneaky bitch, because you could tell that she has reason to not like Consort Neon, Consort Huan was definitely an evil bitch. Why bring in Concubine Huan as part of the conversation, right? But in the next scene, Concubine Huan has finally finished with her plans, assumingly. She wanted it finished in time. She wanted her dress to be finished in time with this banquet, because we see there's a banquet going on right now, and everyone's just having their dinners and their meals and whatnot. And the Emperor notes that the banquet looks a little emptier, because Noble Lady Sao is in her palace staying with Princess Winnie. She's sensitive to the cold. Consort Duan, she's very sick, so it's hard for her to participate in daily matters such as like banquets and things like that. And we see Concubine Wan apparently requested to see apparently what was it? Yes, Concubine Wan requested to stay home because she was sick. And Noble Lady Hui, who just walked into the banquet like last minute as they're discussing this, who Consort Jing always Consort Jing, who says that she's always punctual, so she's not sure what happened this time, kind of covering for her. Consort Jing, not Consort Jing, excuse me, Noble Lady Hui, then comes rushing in, apologizing, and she said she was admiring the newly like blooming, growing plum trees, and it caught her eye so much that it caused her to be late. And I was captivated that she lost track of time. She lost track of time. And immediately the Empress knows what's going on. The Empress smiles and she's like, now I see what's happening. And I immediately knew it was happening too. I was like, ooh, so she let Noble Lady weigh in on the plan. And I think Concubine Wan is about to stage this meeting of some sort in the garden. And sure enough, the Emperor is like, oh, such a sight should be appreciated if the blossoms are, such a sight to see that they have you stopping in your tracks. So he follows her out to the garden, right? And excuse me. And even though I forgot this point. Because the Empress, the Empress was she knew, she kind of understood, and she said it with her face more than with her words. She immediately knew what was about to happen. But I wondered, because, like I said, it's funny enough and interesting enough that Concubine Wan, said she was sick and wanted to stay home. And I wonder, or I think it actually happened, but I wonder if the Empress thought by requesting everybody come along, if she was blocking Noble Lady Wei's plan from being alone with the Emperor, but actually end up falling into the plan she laid out. Because the Empress is aware that Concubine Wan asked to stay, right? But she also knows that Concubine Wan and Noble Lady Hui are friends, and are very close friends. So I wonder, because like I said, the Emperor agreed to go view the plum blossoms since they were such a sight to see. I wonder if the Empress really thought, because she was like, well, everyone should come see. You guys shouldn't just go by yourself. I wonder if she thought she was blocking Noble Lady Hui's advances, And I think the reason why she did, because it was actually better that everyone end up coming, right? And I'm thinking that was the plan all along, right? And sure enough, as everyone rounds the corner, right? Jinshi, she's like, oh, they're about to come, get ready. Jinshi pours the butterflies into the coat that Noble Lady Wan's wearing that smells like flowers, so it keeps the butterflies attracted to her coat. And now I see the whole plan and what she's doing. And soon enough, the Emperor and the Empress and all the women stumble upon Noble Lady Wan praying in the snow. And she's putting on this act to be a pious believer, and she's praying to Buddha, saying that her and her family lacks virtue, and she didn't have she wasn't worthy enough to be seen by the Emperor and to carry his child. So she's there playing up that pious act, She's like, I'll practice vegetarianism all my life. I'll abstain from physical service, meaning sex, from the Emperor if it means that he can still love me, right? So immediately the Emperor is like, concubine Wan, or he uses her nickname. He's like, Wan Wan, is that you? And so she's like, I'm a virtueless concubine. I don't deserve to greet your majesty. And I said it like that because I was like, girl, please. It's been like a month since you've seen this man. Maybe like 2 months since you've seen this man. And now you consider yourself, okay. I don't understand how he didn't see through the plan because everybody else, like the Empress, shit, there was a camera pan to Prince Go. Prince Go was just like, okay, and for a second, this shit looked like a comedy and not a drama. But, like, everybody saw, like, through her plans of what she was trying to do, you know? And I was like, how the fuck did the Emperor not see? And I was like, maybe he didn't want to see, right? But she's like, I'm a virtueless concubine. Don't look at me. My shoes and socks are wet. I'm not worthy. Blah, 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 you know? And he was like, you don't want to see me? Do you remember what you said? Like, the Emperor's like, what? You don't want to be with me? Do you remember what you said to me in the garden a year ago? And I'm just like, what the fuck is even happening anymore, dude? Like, are you guys, like, was this supposed to be a comedy for real? Because what the fuck? This is clearly, like, a plan she set up. So when he reaches out for her, and he's, like, grasping her hand to, like, lift her from the wet ground, you know, all the butterflies come, like, flying out. And it's a magical scene. And she looks so majestic and beautiful. And so she's like, he doesn't help her up. She wants to take her leave. He reaches to help her up. And she's like, it's okay. Just allow me to take my leave. You know, I don't want to disturb your viewing and all that. And she turns around and all the butterflies come out. And it's a sight to see, and the Emperor is starstruck, and he's just like, what a and like I said, this man, all he needs is a nice smile and a big butt, okay? And this man is hook, line, sinker, okay? And all the other women are just like, what? Fucking, where all these butterflies even come from? Like, who is she? Like, what the fuck? Like, they're all mad and pissy. Even Noble Lady Fuka's like, this is witchcraft. It's freezing out here, and all of a sudden these butterflies, like, it's just ridiculous. Like, everyone can see clearly, everyone can clearly see she concocted a plan for the Emperor to just happen to, like, see her. But no one can tell, like, what's going on, except for that it's just a plan to see the Emperor. Everyone's upset, mad, and jealous. Noble Lady Fuka's, you know, yelling shit out like it's witchcraft and stuff. Like, it's fucking crazy. And I thought it was hilarious to me. Because how could everyone not know what was happening, you know? But anyways. At the end of the day, like I said, it became a cat and mouse game. Concubine 1, she, like, ends up playing with Emperor, and it's plus having Prince Gao help her out and advocating for her in the Emperor's ear is a major plus, you know? Because after everything, and after, you know, establishing herself into the harem, she doesn't immediately sleep with the Emperor. She doesn't immediately become affectionate with him. She kind of brushes him off and things like that. And eventually the Emperor is just like, are you not gonna be with me? Are you not gonna stay with me? Like, whatever. And it's cute. But in the background, while all of this is happening, we see Noble Lady Fuka and Consort Chi just scared. Just worried. Like, they're afraid that something's gonna happen. I wouldn't say that, like, Noble Lady Fuka is scared. She clearly is more angry than anything. But Noble Lady Fuka is like, oh shit, she's a concubine and I'm a noble lady. Not to mention she's favored and I'm not. So it's not scared. It's just more like she can see the path ahead of her and it's ending in ruin. And so it's just like, fuck, we humiliated her. Humiliated her horribly. And even Consort Chi's like, I regret, even getting mad at her that day. And she's like, are there even going to be any good days for us after this? And Noble Lady Fuka's like, what are you even mad about? Everybody has favor and everybody loses favor. Not to mention, she's a concubine, your consort. You know what I'm saying? It's 2 against 1. And Consort Chi's like, 2 against 1? Girl, since when does, like, the favor of the Emperor amount to how many people dislike a person? Since when has this been a number game? And so Consort Chi is like, I doubt Concubine Wan is gonna leave us alone. Like, we're gonna have to deal with this shit. And it's like Noble Lady Fuka makes a good point in that Consort Chi is of a higher rank. But this goes to show you, like, despite rank, and this also points out how Consort Nian was able to get away with a lot of shit despite rank, right? Despite how well of a position you hold. Once again, you are at the whims of the Emperor, and his decision, whether or not he chooses to believe you, or, like, doesn't choose to believe you, will make or break you, right? So, they kind of, like, reassure themselves with, well, you're you're above her in rank and station, and it's reasonable that you punished a concubine, so she doesn't have any evidence against you. There's nothing against you, right? So it's fine. And so in the next scene, we see Jinshi and Concubine Wan talking. And Concubine Wan's talking about, Jinshi asks her what is she gonna do next? And Concubine Wan's like, there is nothing to do next. There's the only way I can, like, I think the only way I can do anything is with cleverness and skill now. And so Jinshi is like, the problems and the sadness and everything that was weighing you down, you can now use your power and advantage to release and, release your frustration soon, type of thing. Sorry. But I digress. Moving on. So like we said, she was doing this cat and mouse game with the Emperor and whatnot. And finally, because the Emperor's like, what the fuck? I just want to be with you, man. After all of that, the Emperor finally, like, comes to an understanding and dealing with Prince Gao, because like I said, he's there to talk sweet nothings into her ear, or sweet nothings into the Emperor's ear on behalf of Concubine Wan. So it makes sense that, because yeah, he does love Concubine Wan, he does have favor for her, and his beloved brother, his best friend and brother is also talking good of her. He calms down, and it's understandable that he calms down, and he no longer gets upset at Concubine Wan, playing this his cat and mouse game. Sorry. So, the next thing that we see here that has, I guess, huge significance is, before we head on that, we did see, in one scene, the Emperor had to choose between Princess Wenyi and his imperial sister, meaning, like, his literal sister from another mother, to create a wedding alliance with. And obviously he can't send Wenyi, because Wenyi is, like, 4 or 3, she's a literal child, so he has to send his sister. And this causes a little bit of strife in the harem, because it just goes to show you and remind you that, like, female offspring isn't as desirable as, a male offspring. And it's also very precarious when you have female offsprings, because you'll more than likely never see your daughter again, because they end up marrying for political reasons. There you go. I just wanted to bring that up. And I even think Concubine Wan spoke on behalf of Noble Lady Sao in order to not have Wenyi sent as, the political, like, alliance marriage type thing. And I guess that kind of shocks a lot of people, because they're like, why would she speak on her behalf, I guess you could say. But something tells me that Concubine Wan is back, and she is making plans for the future even more so. Oh, Jesus. Oh, looks like someone's home. You guys can probably hear my little dog barking. Anyways, moving on. Next thing of note. Yes. So, the Empress is trying to push Noble Lady on to be more friendly with Concubine Wan. But in the last episode, she berated her for wanting to visit and spend time with her. Now it's coming, she berated Noble Lady on for wanting to spend time with her and for wanting to visit her. And now it's coming to bite them both back in the ass. Like, literally, she is not trying to, like, she being Concubine Wan is not trying to have that. And I will say Concubine Wan's caught on, but I don't think she's caught on to the full extent. Like, she's aware that Noble Lady Anna is working with the Empress, you know, and that's a cause for concern for her, because we don't trust the Empress. But also, she lied about, you know, her voice and her recovery and all, you know, all that good stuff. So, Concubine Wan is not too much of a fan of Noble Lady Anna, right? And so, oh, Jesus. And so, what was I gonna say with this, chat? I just lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, and so Concubine Wan is just like, no, I'm good. Like, she's not playing that game anymore. She's not allowing herself to get closer with Noble Lady and she's not allowing what Noble Lady An is doing. She's not allowing what Noble Lady An is doing to become a surprise anymore. But I digress. Moving on. Because in the next scene, finally, and I mean finally, Noble Lady Concubine An is about to deal with Consort Chi, Noble Lady An, Noble Lady Fuka, right? And she shoots glares at Consort Chi, she shoots glares at Noble Lady An, she shoots glares at Noble Lady Fuka, at Noble Lady Sao. And even though the Lady Sao's meant, you know, she's letting them know whose hands their lives are in, it doesn't do much for the situation in the sense that, well, hold on, let me backtrack, because I feel like I didn't make sense of there. So, Noble Lady An and Consort Chi are in for it, right? And so, oh, come on, dude. What did I just do? Chat, I think I just, because I'm reading off of my script, and I'm also trying to, like, scroll down to make sure, like, I'm catching everything I want to say, and I just, like, completely, why did I do this? I deleted, like, 2 lines worth of what I was going to say, so the next line is about something completely different. Give me 1 second, chat. Okay, there we go, finally. Got it back, Okay, so like I said, Concubine Wan is shooting glares, because right now everyone is sitting in the palace, in the Empress's palace, and they're all there for their greetings and whatnot, and the Emperor is there, right? And Concubine Wan is shooting glares at Consort Chi, at Noble Lady Fuka, at Noble Lady An, like, she's just giving them all, like, the death glares, and she's letting them know exactly, like, whose hands control their lives, right? And so, in the next scene, or not the next scene, in the very same scene, we see Consort Nian walk in, right? And she's there to pay her respects to the Emperor. She says she hasn't seen him in a long time, and she, you know, she wants to come and finally greet him and pay her respects and become part of the harem, essentially. This is her last Hail Mary, and showing up out of nowhere and pretending to want to see the Emperor, right? And so she kind of antagonizes Concubine Wan for a little bit, and she's like, Noble Lady Wan's here, what a lively room. And so it kind of gets the Emperor, like, mad again. And so she kind of like, I won't say against the emperor mad, but he's just like, all right, are we gonna do this right now? Like, are you gonna come in here doing like acting like this? And so she gets ready to leave, and the emperor's like, it's fine, you can stay, I guess. And like he's like, oh, and then he even like makes the comment, I like the purple dress you were wearing, you should order more from the few household departments. And at first I thought he was saying that to Consort Nian, and I was like, wait, is he trying to like sweet talk? But chat, I was a little confused. He's actually saying that to Concubine Wan. And I think that was supposed to be written like that, because at first Consort Nian is like, oh, is he talking to me? And then she like looks down and realizes he's talking to he's talking to Concubine Wan, and I'm just like, oof, dang, like he not fucking with Consort Nian right now. And I'm like, oh, is this it? Is she out of her prime? Is she no longer alpha male? Is she a sigma beta male now? And I'm just wondering whether or not, if like, because of what happened, will she now finally, be knocked off her high horse and be dealt with. But like I said, he was talking to Concubine Wan and whatnot, and so we see, like I said, she's not dealing with Noble Lady An, right? She's not trying for that bullshit anymore. She's sick of Noble Lady An's two-facedness. And so, after that whole ordeal with Consort Nian walking in and saying hi and giving her respects and walking out, for some reason, Noble Lady An took it upon herself to say, to like reach over and say to Concubine Wan, oh, you must have had a difficult time, with that, or you've been going through a difficult time, and I hope that you're okay. And, Noble Lady Wan's like, it wasn't a difficult time for me. Thank you. And surely, had you visited me or she says it wasn't a difficult time, we could have visited each other more often if you were concerned with me, right? Pointing out that, oh, you didn't even come near me. You didn't even want to talk to me when I was out of favor. And of course, the other women in the harem pick up on this immediately, and they're like, that's right, sure didn't say shit. When she was high in favor and Concubine Wan was ill, where were you to be found? Where were you? How could you say you were sisters of old time, or you were sisters for a long time, and you don't even want to fucking see your friend when your friend is down and out type shit? So Noble Lady Chen is, clocking her real quick. She's like, oh, you thought you was gonna be real cute. You thought you were gonna sit up here and try and display yourself as someone who cares, as someone who's a true friend. But when it came down to it and your friend was down and out, your sister, quote unquote sister, was down and out, you didn't even want to be seen anywhere near her, right, chat? And so this causes Noble Lady An to back down. She like smiles and whatnot. And like I said, those glares that Concubine Wan was shooting, she shoot them around again. She pop. She looking at Noble Lady An. She's looking at Noble Lady Fuka. She's looking at Consort Chi. She's looking at all the women who had ever did her wrong in particular, and are letting them know, your lives are now in my fucking hands. And they're scared. They're scared, right? And they all look down like, oh shit, nothing. Ooh, don't look at me, right? But I digress. I don't want to get too happy. I don't want to get too happy, too excited now. And in the next scene, boy, when I tell y'all, boys, this is why I love this drama. In the next scene, we see Concubine Wan. She was walking with Noble Lady Hui. Noble Lady Hui eventually like splinters off to go do her own thing, and Concubine Wan happens to come across Noble Lady Sao and Noble Lady Fuka, and they're talking to each other. And Noble Lady Fuka stops like mid sentence and like looks down, and Noble Lady Sao's like, oh, Concubine Wan, how are you? What's going on? Like essentially starting a conversation when clearly Noble Lady Fuka was like, oof, let's not talk to her, right? And so Noble Lady Fuka is trying to excuse herself. She's like, oh, I have to go visit, Consort Chi. I told her I'd visit her at the theater. And so Concubine Wan's like, oh, Noble Lady Fuka, Are you feeling guilty about something because you don't want people to see you? Is something you're afraid of that people are gonna talk about for some reason? You know, insinuating like, bitch, I know you're trying to run away. I know you're trying to run away, right? And it trips me up every single time. Every single time these confrontations happen, who's actually about the action, who's not about fighting, lol, but who's about the action of backing their words up, and who's afraid and who's willing to hide behind the power and status of someone else, right? But I digress because I am done, baby. My final thoughts. They basically left this on this cliffhanger, right? We saw Concubine Wan confront Noble Lady Sao. Well, not Noble Lady Sao. She confronted Noble Lady Fuka while Noble Lady Sao was there, right? So we know some shit's about to go down. Concubine Wan is back, baby, and she's back with a vengeance, okay? She flexed her power a little bit in this episode, right? But I'm sure in the next she's going to use it. That's what this whole confrontation is about. She's sick and tired of having been slapped down and being like thrown around by people who don't even know the half of it, or people who've been in the same situation and are quite literally trying to like step over her to like raise themselves up, right? And I'm looking at you, Noble Lady An. I'm talking about you, bitch. But I digress, chat. Thank you for sticking around with me today. We are done with our episode 7 of Watch Club Empresses in the Palace. I greatly appreciate all my lurkers that have been in here. I greatly appreciate everyone who has been watching in and out. I hope that you have a great evening. I hope you have a great day, a great week, and I'll see you next week. Mwah.